Hey guys, welcome to part 5 of this series. And today we are back to proceed with what we've been. So, what we started with on the first day of the series, which was the part 1, that was on a Sunday. Today is day 5, and so far, so good. This is what we have. Basically, we have this, and this is what we are working. So, this is what we've been working with so far. We have our screen, like we have the we are trying to replicate. This is what we have. So yesterday I was able to resolve we had that we couldn't test some of them. So hopefully we won't have any issues going forward because to reduce anything that's to cause that kind of issues. So now that that is out of the way, let's proceed. So today there won't be any wasting of time. We just jump straight into it because we've done a lot of back and forth so far that has prevented us from moving so far. But it's not really an issue because we've been trying to put things in place in terms of structures and things should happen, how they should look like, and all those nitty-gritties that should be in place. So that's what we've been working with. So that is understandable and it is cool enough. So this is what we have currently. We have based on the visual creation I was trying to do yesterday. So it was not actually like this. I was able to make some adjustments after I got it to build successfully and then this. So far this prototype, let me log in. This is the wallet extension that we are trying to replicate. And I'm trying to convert this to an actual moment of it. So you can see this is how it looks like on, on the web. Or let me say the Chrome extension version. This is how it looks like. So considering this and looking at this, you can see that there are slight differences. Yes, but still it makes a lot more sense. So, but then the thing that needs to change. First thing I noticed was the font doesn't look as fresh as I want it to be. This looks like a more pronounced, bolder, confident font, right? So we are going to stick to that. So first thing, I can't remember the font I used for this. I think I'm using the system font. I'm not entirely sure. I'll confirm, but that is not our priority for now. So let's try cleaning up this. We want to remove the welcome here. So let's just jump right into the implementation straight away. No wasting of time today. So I'm going to remove anything I'm not that doesn't need to be there. So let's look for welcome on this page. So yeah, let's do this. So welcome needs to leave. We don't want all of this. We don't want the text. So automatically that becomes that is gone. So we need to have a bit of spacing between the two texts. So we need to create that spacing, and the spacing needs to look somewhat like this. So this needs to have a padding of 8. I'm going to make it 8. So you see how this looks like. You can see this. So this is going to be much increased. I mean, in terms of the, you can see this, comparing this to this is how it's going to look like. Now, this looks like the actual mobile view that we have, right? If I reduce the font a bit, this is how it should look like. So looking at it this way, right, I just reduce the font a bit so that it looks like an actual mobile view. So this is how the mobile view will look like. So that's what we are trying to replicate. So to make that look a bit more in tune with what we have up here, two things needs to be done. We okay, know what I'm going to do first. So I'm going to first reduce or remove this. I'm going to remove the okay. So you don't need this. You don't need this. I'm going to go to text and I'm going to remove the font family from it. So reload this. So this is what we have. This is how this looks like. This is how this looks like. So this is a much better, bolder font. So we're going to stick to this and work with this. So I'm going to change this icon to look much like this and increase the font a bit more. It's too small compared to what we're trying to replicate. So changing the font, I'm going to close this again. Don't need it for now. So going back to the font, we have for the shorten address, we need to increase this to 2XL to make it look like this. And we need to reduce the bold. You need to make it just bold, not extra bold. So it's not too bold, but it's bold enough. And then the text should be, we need to change it to text muted foreground to give it that dull bit of dull color, but not too dull. So I need to call it gray. I don't really want it to be that dull. So gray 500 should be fine to maintain. Nah, maybe 500 doesn't work. So I'm going to call it secondary. Right. I think secondary foreground will work. Um, okay, no words. Let's leave this for now. These are small touches we'll work with eventually. Okay, so we are going to do this. Okay, so we are working with it this way. I'm just going to leave it like this. Then we need to change the icon to be the outline version. So it will be outline like this. So I'm just jumping straight into the code, so we don't want to waste time, right? I'm trying to make sure we achieve a lot of all that we intend to do. So the essence of what we are trying to do today is implement the send functionality where we have gas sponsorship, all of those things implemented so that we can proceed from there. So I'm going to increase this to 18. It becomes a bit bigger. So let's see how many screens we can convert in that we have to work today. So we have a button created. So this looks a bit alike, right? It doesn't, it's not perfect yet because there's a bit of padding issues I wanted to have, padding that I wanted to retain. Oh yeah, we need to log in because it's been more than 24 hours since we logged in. So I'm going to sign in again. Hopefully it sends me my OTP, right? I need to confirm my OTP, take this back and keep working. So we can always increase the 24-hour size we set, right? Remember we set the 24-hour size ourselves. So we are not just working with an abstract thing, it's configurable. So my OTP is here, 90. Okay, so we have this. We are back, we're signed in perfectly okay. So we need to change the sign in also, but we'll work on that once we are done with this because the thing is to implement password management and all of those things. But I think that will be done tomorrow. Let's see how much we can rush on this to get this done. So we have this. The height of this should be probably 16. 16 to 12. It looks smaller. Maybe 14. Yeah. So I like this. I like this. It's bold. It gives you that. It's not shying away from how much can be displayed on screen, right? It allows you leverage of it, give you the space. So let's increase this also to text LG as extra large. So we can have something bold too, not too bold, not too shy. Also, something that just works basically. So we have the address, we have the account, which is our like account one. So let me call it account one, right? To make it look similar to what we have there. We implement account management also today, so we can have that display. So we need to implement one more thing. When I copy this, when I click this, you can see I have this toast that displays. We want to implement something like that to it. But for us to implement that, we need to install a library, which I said, don't worry. Hopefully this will work. If it doesn't, we'll just remove it automatically. So I'm going to add a library called Sona Native. Sona Native is a native library that allows you to. So basically, this is the web version. I'm using the web version, which is Sona library. But in this case, I'm using the Sona Native because I'm working with React Native. So that's the beauty of working with TypeScript most times. You can literally just port most of those things to TypeScript. Just make it compatible with the port and the native version of trying to implement. So this is so let's proceed with this. While this is installing, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to increase the font size of the currency. That's the format set display, which is equivalently this. You know, we are using these actual amounts now. Then we have the refresh button also. Refresh button is small. We're using the small text, which is just that's perfect. Let's see, this is done. It's not done. So some other things just to make sure we are done. We need to do this QR code implementation. So I've done some copy, but it's not perfect. We need to tweak some settings from it. So one of the things we have here is QR code, but it's still using the typical React, not the React Native version. So we don't want that. We want the React Native implementation actually. So that's what we want. So what I need to do here is to change all of this. I have another code you can use if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so if Sonar Native is installed, hopefully everything should work fine. So what I'm going to do to test if it works fine, I'm going to close this. I'm going to restart the server. I'm going to expo npm expo start. See if everything works fine. If it works fine, we just re reload it to our simulator, then it comes up. But while that is happening, if there are no issues, then everything works fine. Then perfect. We are good to go. Okay, so if there are no errors, all right. So that means it works fine. There are no errors, basically. Yeah, so we are good to go. So we are still going to work on this, whereby we can see that we can persist the state of the themes and all of those things. Our configuration will still be done, but we'll work on that later. So I need to pick something else from another project I worked on that allows me to be able to copy stuff like this, and that is from the, if I'm not mistaken, the QR code. QR display. Yeah, it's called QR display. So in this place, the QR display is coming from this library called React Native QR Code SVG. So what I'm going to do is first of all install that library. I'm going to install React Native QR Code SVG, if I'm not mistaken now. QR Native QR Code SVG. Yeah. So I'm going to just copy that since I already have that installed. So it's just a matter of copying the same code. I'm just going to copy this, re-implement it, and just that's it. Use it straight away. So I don't need to copy the entire thing, right? I just need to copy what I want from here. So I wait till this is installed. I copy this. I think all I need for now. So I'm going to just close this because that's basically all I need. So I don't need to use the other one I had installed before, if I'm not mistaken. So what I'm going to do to be sure that whatever I've installed, I can keep track of what is wrong, what is faulty. I'm going to stop the server again and restart the server. I'm going to start. Now, the reason for this is so that I can know if I install something wrong and that should not be installed. So I'm going to load this and see if it works fine. There's an error for stuff. Say something is incompatible with project. Yeah. So that's fine. That's fine. So what I need to do here is we have this. So that means we are good to go. There's no issue. We don't have any build issues. Just copy the configuration for Sona that I used for this project. So which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back here and copy the Sona implementation I use. So this in here, there's something called Sona. You can see Sona native to the package.json here. So package.json here also have Sona. If I could load it, you can see the one we installed is 23.0. I can also install the same version, but I don't think there's any much difference. So I'm going to just look for where Sona was used, called Toast, if I'm not mistaken. It should be from the layout. I'm sure that should be the base layout. So I'll just copy the way it is used from the base layout or from the other layout. Let's look for this one. Okay, this is it. So this is the configuration for the toast that was used. So I'll just copy this, right? It will be in our base layout too. So we don't need to re-implement and start looking for the resources. So that's the essence of all of it. So after doing this, I'm going to go to the portal host. I'm going to copy and paste it before, like you see here, it comes before the portal host and the safe area view. So same thing here. So, but this is, okay, this is inside the safe area view. So I move the portal host down here. So it's going to come after the stack. Most probably, as you can see, it comes after the stack here. And the app providers in that case. So this is going to be here. So I'm going to import this. Sonar should be installed. So I should be able to install or import that automatically. So this should be fine. Pause when page is hidden, all of this. So what we're going to do to test if it works now is I'm going to look for where we use toast dot anything that has to do with toast here, toast from Sonar. Okay, let's look at this. How did it work? So toast this, just copy from Sonar. Oh, no, not this. No. We're not working with this. This is not what I'm supposed to be checking. I'm supposed to be checking this. Toast dot. Okay, yeah, this is it. Toast dot info. Let me pick one here. So how do you use it? We just copy toast from Sona, right? And did something like this, and that's it. If I'm not mistaken, it should be toast dot. I'm just trying to confirm. I know that's how it is, but to be sure, okay, this is it directly, and then that's all. So I think that's all I need from this project here, right? That's one of the projects I did last year. I didn't get to finish it, but then I'm already working on a new version this year. So, but the one new version this year is much better than that one. So, I'll probably do a video on that one too when I feel like it's ready to be to be talked about, which will be love. So now going back to this, I have the toast implemented. So that means going back to our button. Let's do that. So when we click on the button, now what do I need to do? I want to click on this and I want it to tell me that my account has been copied. So literally the implementation is just simple. What we need to do is go back to our shorting address here, right? Now, currently, this is our button. So we can just add an on-press functionality to our button, and that should just work as normal, right? So this is what I mean. If I add this on-press, should give me that implementation, and I should just have something like this. Payment, I'll have toast coming from Sona automatically. So I'll just say something like this, payment feature, not payment feature in this case, which was what I copied. It's just going to be, let's look at what we have. I want it to be literally the same thing. Account address copy to clipboard. All right, so before I continue, I want to create a screenshot of this so you can use that as a reference. Oh no, sorry about this. Let me remove this. That shouldn't be here. So sorry about that. All right, so I'm trying to add the screenshot. I want to take like a I want to be able to track what we've done today, so we can know. Oh yeah, this is what we did. This is where we are. This is what we still have to implement. Stuff like that. So I want to create this on a new page, right? Just okay. Yeah, this is it. So this is the before, right, that we have. So let's see what we can accomplish before the end of today, right? I hope this didn't spoil my. Oh, this is still here. Come on, leave. Remove this. Am I still sharing my screen? All right. Sorry about that. Sorry about the whole nonsense that just happened. Yeah, back to this. So we have our screen shared again. I was just trying to take like a screenshot so we can track our progress on what we've done today. So we have this. So if I click on this now, gesture detector must be oh my god, I don't have gesture detector installed. I don't want to install just so we are not going to use this then. So for now, we are just going to assume this doesn't exist until we can get that done. Like I said, we are not installing any package that is probably going to give us issues. And currently, nothing is breaking, right? It still works perfectly well. If I reload the page or the screen or the simulator, it should still work fine. So it's just that we can't have all of those toasts. But if this doesn't work, there are other many toasts I can make use of that make sense. Or we can configure how I want to make it work. Still the same thing. So now that this is done, don't let us waste time on this. So we are working with this interface, right? We've created this, we've created this, we've created this. It looks almost similar, except for the it that looks a bit smaller. So I think I prefer the smaller one. It gives it more room for the numbers in case you have like, I think this is perfect. So I'm going to leave it this way just to give it that bit of diversity in the way it looks, right? I feel this is a bit more in tune. So let's look at the way this is. So the refresh button works similar to this, literally the same type button type. So we are going to remove this down part here. We are going to implement this a bit later, like I said. So let's go to the top here and implement what we have. So the first thing we have at the top is we have this. So first thing, let's remove this text. The text we have down here, I do not want them there because we don't need them. So I'm going to hide this. I don't want to remove them here, just hide it, right? I don't want it to be too bare, but this is looking a bit more like what we have here, as you can see. So it makes a lot more sense, right? So we have this, perfect. So next thing is let's work on the alert at the top here. So we are going to go to the same library we've been using. to call out our alert. We have an alert there that we can make use of. So I'm going to go to alert here and copy this alert, which is the second one we have here. Very basic stuff. Alert have its icon and description, just like we have here. There's no title, just action and description. Now we can configure that to look a bit more reasonable. Is that the word? I don't know. But then we can just configure it to look a bit more like what we want. Of course, this is not going to be the same, but we can always configure it. So now let's do that here. We are going to do that in the header. We already understand we have our and whatever we add into the header is what will be displayed. But let's add this alert to the body rather before we move to the header. So let's add that to the scroll view, which we have here, which as a container here because it can, and we add that before our account section. So we are going to add that here. So I'm going to import the alert so it won't give me any errors. I'm going to do that from this. I'm going to also import the title from the components, import the terminal, which is coming from Lucid React Native. So it gives us that same look. So what we have here is we have this. This alert has no description. Now, the alert is not that configurable, but I've seen it, right? We need to look a bit more like what we want. So currently it doesn't look like that. We can always know an issue. Styling shouldn't be an issue for us right now because we have a solid foundation on how to implement style. So let's proceed. The container itself should have a padding vertical because in case you scroll to the end of it, you don't want it to look just bare and just weird. And I don't want to have this padding by the side. It shouldn't really have horizontal padding because it exists, but it's very subtle. So I'm going to give it not 15 but 8 because I want it to maintain the subtle padding it has, like this small space beside it, right? It was intentionally designed that way. So I'm going to leave it that way, very subtle padding. So I'm going to go back to the container where I have the container, go back to the terminal. You can see there's space between that now. And then we can style the container to the way we want it to look like. So first thing is I'm going to give the background of green or emerald 800. So I want it to look something like this, but this is not the actual color too because this color is a bit distinct. It's a bit distinct. It's not just, it's called jade, actually jade color, but we don't have jade in tailwind. So we can't use that directly. So those are Radix colors. Radix colors, let me show you what I mean. So these are Radix UI colors. So Radix has its own color system that uses. We can also borrow from some of it, but I don't think we need to. We can because it's fun. Colors are a bit more distinct than what I've seen in other libraries. Most libraries now are just looking the same, but this is what I mean. So this is the Jade that I'm talking about. So we can copy this design, this library, right, and this color rather, and it looks like what we want. So you can see there's background, interactive components, borders, colors, accessible text. So what we are going to work with if you're working with Jade is these background colors, right? Because 1 and 2 is background. So we can use these two and we can copy this and it works for us. So you can see the color is going to give us the alpha color, which is this. I can copy this, go back here and use this as my color. So if I use it as my color, you see we have this kind of washed down color, right? Because that's the alpha version. But then if I use the actual solid color, right, we have something a bit different. We have something like this, right, which is still quite different from what we have here. Right, I'm just explaining. So we can go a bit higher for the jade and look at maybe like more interactive components. I think it's using grass, not jade. This looks more grass than jade, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's more grass. No, I think it's, let's see, let me check. Yeah, it's more grass than jade, but it looks a bit more jade. Okay, let's say it's jade, right? I'm just going to go with jade for now. And I'm going to like change this to look like this. Am I correct? Does it look alike? I think so. Okay, I'm not entirely sure, but then let's just do that until we find a color that works for us, right? And we're going to kind of like reuse that color. So I think it looks more alike now. Yeah. So the title is going to not have a type background. It's going to be transparent because we don't want that stuff that is there. So we also need to. Okay, so I think I'm correct. It's actually grass, not jade. So it's going to be grass for this. I'm going to copy. No, it's not grass. It's jade. I'm sure it's jade. I'm extremely sure it's jade. Oh my god, I can't just prove it. Don't mind me. I love being precise with colors. I love being precise with colors. So that's why I'm taking time to make sure it's similar to what I have here. And I can't be sure. I can be sure, right? Let me just check the colors. In fact, just to be sure. Let me see. There's a tool I have. It's color picker. Okay, I don't have a color picker tool. Do I have one here? tools, color picker. Oh, no, I don't. Okay, so we don't have a color picker tool, but we can be sure that we can guess the color of this call out. The call out has different colors. Let's see, call out, call out, call out, call out. Accent color is green. Oh, is it green? Nice. All right, so is the green color not even the jade like I was thinking about? There's a green color there, which is what is being used. And if you have to look for the color, it's a bit hidden. You can see accent three is green A3 is display P3 and stuff. Yeah, so this is actually green. It's not accent, it's actually green. I think it's A3, if I'm not mistaken. Green A3. Yeah, the alpha version of the green is what is being used. So we're going to go with that. Now, these are just design systems, right? These are some of the things you see all these UI UX guys do, most of them. So this actually doesn't look alike, but it's actually the same color, right? It doesn't look alike, but it's the same color. So what I'm going to do is copy the solid color and not the weird one that we have now. Copy the solid and it should look a bit more like it, as you can see. You can see it looks a bit more like it. Now the text on top will make it pop out more. So we are going to be using the texts on top of it. So we are going to be going a bit more higher on the scale with the green and picking a bit like maybe P7 or G8 or something. I think 7 is going to be better, not 8. 8. Okay, 8 is going to be better. So I'm going to pick the one for the text. I'm going to give it a text of this color, and let's see what we have. So it looks like this. So we need to go higher on the scale because 8 is not okay. So we need to probably pick 10. Uh, so just this is just for this. Once we are done with this, we move faster again. We use tailwind colors. It's just because we don't have that now that we are not using it yet. This looks still small. It doesn't look as shiny as I want it to look like. As clear enough. I think it makes more sense. It looks alike, right? Does it look alike? I think it does look alike now. Yes, it does look alike now. So what we need to do is just increase, like I said, style it to look a bit more like what we are trying to build. So what we need to do is style it to have a bit more padding, a bit more margin. Set the height. I don't know if padding will work or the height, depending on the way it was built. So okay, padding works. So we just set the padding of 2. We can set the flex for it. Just flex row and set the items to center. So all the items are aligned to the center, just like we have. And we have it to look like this. This one is aligned to the center. I don't know if this will work for the center because it might not really work to the center like we plan to, but let's see. It might work also. So align this to the center and what else? We have the background color. We need to increase the text size of this to text large so it can be more pronounced and more visible to look like this. Then we set the icon. Now the icon is a bit problematic because let me go check how it is being used here. So the icon is being added to it as a prop, right? Yes, so we have that icon is being added as a prop. Take that icon, we configure it to give it a size. So the top is -3. I don't want it to be -3 because it's absolute. I don't like absolute because you can't really start it from the parent component. It's always a problem. But then we can always tweak it if we don't want it here. So what I'm going to do is I won't make it top 3. I'm going to just leave it by left so it retains the same configuration we have. I'm styling it for our use case here, right? So going back, I'm changing that already. Like I said, the reason why we're using this is because it's tweakable. That's one of the reasons. So I'm going to change this to info because we want to use the same info stuff that we have there. So I'm going to call it info from Lucid React. And so that means this will change to the info component. So we should be able to style the text also, but I don't know if that was going to work because, like we said, this doesn't take in the same thing. Like you see, there's no color, there's no way to style the class name and all of those things. I think it takes a component called icon class name. Let's hope that works. And if that works, it should be configurable for our use case. So let's do that. Let's see icon class name and call it text, same text as this one. Come on. Okay, so it looks a bit better. The size, I don't know. I don't know the size to use here. Let's see. We need to check it again. Size is 4. Okay, so I'm going to increase the size to 8 because I want it to be bigger, more pronounced. 8 is too much, so we're going to make it 5. So 5 means it's more like Tailwind uses 4 pixel dimensions for all like as base dimension. So whatever you're doing, in case of 5 like this, is going to be 4 times 5 is 20. So that's the way to understand it. Now, this icon I used for this one is a custom icon. It's not coming from Lucid, so it's a bit stylish, as you can see. I like using fonts and icons that matches what I'm trying to do. Now look at the way it blends with this. Look at the difference between that and this. You can clearly see that there's a difference. But for now, we are going to leave this way. So we are going to click this button. Doesn't we can't use this button, rather this is how it's supposed to be, take you to the about page. So this button is supposed to take you somewhere, but we don't have that button here. So we're going to just click something here and say only mainnet supported. I'm going to change the text to only mainnet supported. That's it. So then we are going to add a button to it, because now we have only mainnet supported automatically configured to make it work. So what we need to do is, I think the test needs to, that's a bit of leading that does not really make sense. Leading normal. I'm going to give it tight. Okay. What is happening? Why are you all of a sudden like you've not done this in the morning? Maybe whenever I'm streaming, this wants to happen. All right, so this is going to be what we have. Then we are going to add a button to it. If we go back to our style library and see what else we have access to. We have the title, the description, right? Let's see the other one, title, description. Then we can configure any other thing we want for it. All right, so that makes sense. Okay. Right, so let's add this to it. We have the button, so let's right, flex row, right? So we already add a view. We don't need a view, just the button actually. So I'm going to add a button as from, okay, we already did that. So the button is going to take similar configurations, but we're going to call it learn more. So the button is going to be a variant of the solid, so it's going to be fine. We don't need to change it. No, don't do this. No. Okay, so this thing, right? I don't know, just trying to make it. Dump the trades, just dump the trades as behave. So we need to move this far right. We need to flex this by 1 to make it work. React Native stuff. Yeah, that's a problem. So we need to create this like this and call it flex low. We can't do that. We can't set the width also. That's another problem. How large is this? 2.9 megabytes. Small. Just okay, I don't know this. So we need the button for this. This is how it looks like. Learn more. So I'm going to close this because we don't need this, right? So we don't need this at all. So that is going to go out of. So we need the button. The button is not a solid type. It's a secondary type. So the variant for the button is a secondary type. So we're going to change the color, right? You need to class name. We need to give it the same badge, the background of this to make it standard a bit. Now this is going to be tricky because the background is supposed to be different for many reasons. One of the reasons why it should be different is because we don't want to use the same background type. But for now, let's just assume this is fine. So we have the learn more. So we need to implement a text. We need to add this into a text. It doesn't work if you don't add it to a text. So now we have learn more. So this automatically, as you can see. So we need to find a way to make sure this automatically stretch problem. Using learn, that's going to work. We can't use this also. It's going to misbehave for many reasons, but then we can work with this. We just configure it this way, flex one of this, and then it should automatically do this. But then we don't want this to flex one. We want it to we want the text to flex, yes, or we want this to flex row, also, so that it maintains that. We want it to be width of yeah, this is it. So it's going to work for this, but then it's also stretching the vertical axis. So we really want it to stretch the horizontal. So currently it does that, but still not the best way we want it to work. So what we need to do is, and each auto will not work. It doesn't work for native applications. So sorry about that. Yeah, item this, since we're using row. Um, so I'm just going to baseline this. Okay, still doesn't work. So we can't use flex here. It's just going to cause a lot of issues. Which other property do we have that we can style? Icon, class name, variant, and style. Okay, so since there are no much stuff for us to work with, you're just going to have this. Then to have a way to flex this. So hopefully it works. Yeah, so it works. So we're able to flex the text alone so that the button can retain its position far right. So now we are going to optimize the button to look a bit more like what we want it to look like. We should be good to go. Right, it looks like this, like I said, but it's not good enough. We want it to look like this. So we are going to use a green, green to use a green 700. So feel that it's on top of it, then you could probably just like make it a bit more opaque like this, even though it's not perfect, but get the idea. So we're going to make it a bit more opaque, like even a 600. 600 should give us that same color feel, but it's more opacity, it should be perfect. So it should be 20. Yeah, it looks more alike now, even though it's not the same, but it looks alike. So one other thing we need to do is we need to align this center, because we did this item center, so it should fall down to the center. We can reduce the padding, because we really don't want padding for this, or we can do this pi x 0. And that will not affect it, because that should affect this one. Yeah, so I'm going to make this 2 so I can control the padding. But controlling the padding for this also is messy, because it affects the icon automatically. What we can do with the icon is we can control the way the icon looks like, or basically just say we are controlling. Yeah, baseline works, but not for the icon. Okay, so it doesn't work. So okay, so good point to note, it doesn't work. Okay, all right, so we are going to style this. We're going to give this a padding of 2, just to, so it doesn't reflect. So the icon class name cannot take it, because that doesn't still have it. So we're going to give it a gap then. To make it easy for us, we give it a gap. So I like grouping my style in a very subtle way. Items that should be beside each other should maintain that. Why is the gap not working? That should perfectly working. The gap should be between the icon and the child. Wow. Okay. All right. So the icon doesn't really matter. We just need this. So instead of using the R, we are going to use just the R to define the size of the x-axis. So we're going to leave it just the way it is, not changing anything. So also you notice that the text, the icon doesn't really display well. So I'm going to empty -1. I'm going to negative move it a bit up so it can be properly aligned. Currently it's not properly aligned. We can't use 0.5 because we are not working with web. So it's not going to work as expected, but it still works. So we can use that, and then it's perfect. So now I prefer it this way, because it looks a bit more perfect than it was before. We have equal spacing by the left and by the right of what we are trying to work with. 2.5 will be perfect. Yeah, 2.5 should be perfect. All right, so we have this similar to what we have here, only that something is a bit different, the icon. And the text also doesn't look alike. So we need to change the color of the text to look a bit more like what we have there. So this will be the last decoration we do for this before we move to the next part. So this is going to be in the text. So you can take the style of the text. So I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to use this here, and we should have something similar, as you can see. Makes sense. So we have that perfectly implemented. We have the texts working as it should. We have similar configuration. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to style it because I don't like the way the border radius is a bit too small. So rounded XL, 2XL should be perfect. So it can be very rounded, something similar to what we have here. This is well rounded. But I think 2XL is too much. Let's see. Am I right? Wrong. Okay, 2XL is perfect. Yeah, it's correct. So 2XL is perfect for the roundedness of this. Do not want shadow for it. So shadow is going to be none, just in case, right? We know okay, shadow is not going to work because it doesn't use shadow. So we can't use that directly. So this is perfect. So what we are going to do is link this button eventually. When we are done, we are going to link it to our um, about page. Currently, we don't have an about page, but we are going to create one. So this should lead us to even create the about page. So I'm going to go ahead and create an about page. I'm going to create a directory, call it about. I'm going to add a text into that and call it about index.tsx. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to export default function about screen. So I'm going to return this. I'm going to return view. I'm going to automatically, no, not view. We are working with the page container. So I'm going to have a page container. So interestingly, I can copy the about page from the other file, right? I'm just going to create a page container. In this case, I'm just going to view, in fact. So it can stay here, then import the view from React Native, let it rest like this. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to copy the same about view that I used for the Smart Wallet Pro, the exact about page, because it's just text. So nothing should change. I think, I'm not sure. I know there are links to it, but we can always modify that. About.tsx. So I'm going to just copy this. You can see it's literally almost the same thing, like literally the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this, copy everything here, copy, close this. I'm still going to come back to this page because I need to reference something from it. But for now, nothing crazy needs to be done, just what we have. So copy and paste this here, replace everything now with what is here. I know there are a lot of flex here that I do not need, and that's the problem. We're going to change all the flex to view. So I'm going to just move through all the flex, change it to view because it's the same thing, right? Any flex with most of the flex here are column. So it works for my use case. I've already imported view, so that's perfect for us. So anywhere we see direction column, I'm just going to look for direction column. View already a direction column by default. They're like flex direction column. So I'm going to remove that. Gap is not going to work for view, so there's no gap. So I'm going to remove anything that's doing gap by default. So I'm just going to do this, remove everything that is there to the end. We don't have the heading, right? Heading is trying to import from where? No, we don't need that. So we don't have the heading also, we have the text. So we're going to change every heading to text. We're going to give it a default size. So we need to import our text from, remember we are importing text from, where's that? Source slash component slash UI slash text. So we import our text from here, perfectly defined. So let's import all the page container that we need, the page heading, the page header, the page heading. So we still retain the same structure for everything. So we have this. So we don't have the size. Size implementation is not currently implemented, so we can't use that. So anywhere we have that, you know what? I'm just going to do this manually. Just don't want to mess it up. So we don't have all these properties defined directly because we don't want it to work that way. But we know we have the text color gray, which is like perfect, right? But we can't use it like this. These are just Radix UI stuff, so we can't really use it like this. So I'm just going to create a class name that defines that. So I'm going to define text muted for all of these that have color gray. I'm going to define the so these are like this wrap pretty new Tailwind CSS stuff that does not work with our Tailwind CSS version. So I'm using version 3.4. So I don't look at what text wrapping pretty does it. Yeah, it does. Okay, 3.4 supports it. Yeah, it's 3.3 that does not support. So 3.4 supports it. So I don't know if it's going to work for mobile, but let's try. So text pretty. So we have literally converted everything we have. Then the text size, which is size of 2, should be like our text base define the same thing. So we've successfully refactored what we have. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to see the previous one. Yeah, I know. So color gray size is 6, right? So I'm going to do the same thing I did just now. But I'm going to just copy it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to undo everything again. So I can just paste that because I want to retain the same size. So it's easy. So I'll just be working with the sizes as I move on. So this is size of 6. So size of 6 is a big size. I'll show you the difference between the fonts in the extension too. So this is going to be 3XL, literally. So this is class name of text muted, foreground. Yeah, foreground. So the color gray is very similar. It's not the same color. I still prefer the gray color because Radis, I told you, right, Radis colors are like the best colors for a lot of things on the web. They just make sense. But we can't use that for a lot of reasons too. So it doesn't work for mobile. So this is what we stick to. We don't have div, we have view. So in this case, we have flex one. Flex one is just to take the space of the container. Overflow is what's supposed to happen. But I think my page body already implements overflow, which we are using. So we can't use overflow in this case. We need to use a scroll container. Overflow will not work. So automatically this is going to go out. We don't need this, we don't need this, and we don't need this. So we are going to use a scroll view instead of all of those things. So we are implementing a scroll view actually for this. So I'm going to convert this to a scroll view by default, taking it flex one. So it takes the space that exists. So that's it. We are done with that. So BR here will not work. We are just going to create a view, and then instead of BR, we are going to create a view, just an empty view, call it a class name of my to be 2, so it signifies our break that we're going to work with. Of course, we can always use better features, but for now, since we are just replacing on the fly, so I'm going to create this and say text 4 is a bit like 2XL, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be the same thing with this text 2XL. Just I want to be consistent with the size so that we can change them once again if it doesn't suit our use case. So this is going to change to text muted foreground for all the colors of gray that we have. Then text 2 is more like text based, like I said, so we don't really need to change anything. So anywhere we see color gray, we are going to just like literally change it. Color gray size 2 is going to leave. So anywhere we see color gray size 2, we are just going to replace them. So view direction is going to leave. Color gray size 2 is going to be text muted foreground. Then the same size 2 is like the basic default size. So I don't need to do much on that. So I'm just going to replace this. So let's see, it doesn't exist. So class name text muted foreground. Yeah. So we don't have UL. UL doesn't exist, so we can't use that. So we need to, you know what, I'm going to remove this for now. Come back to this. Comment this out. So we are done with that. Next thing is let's remove the heading here too. Let's change it to text. We don't have size 4. Size 4, like I said, is like text to Excel. 2XL is a bit much. It's like Excel. Yeah, I think Excel is better. So size 3 is going to be like large. Text LG. So weight for medium is going to be like font medium. So I'm sure that's not needed, but we can always remove later. So text grid that we have here, which is like, yeah, since we have all of them, we can just remove all of them at once. So the same thing is going to just text muted foreground. So what we can do in this case to prevent us from replicating the same text muted foreground is to create just one component called maybe text muted and give it that thing. Just wrap it in the about the text, so we can always use that multiple times. It's just going to import that and like inherit the same text but with a different size. So that's what we change all the other heading that has literally the same config also. So we have this. So I'm going to change this to text. I'm going to change this to class name. So we don't need to change the size, but let's see. Text LG is fine since you know it's a bigger text size. Text LG. So the weight is going to leave. We are going to change that to font medium. Okay, so we don't need this. We don't need the hidden part because we don't need the text tag. So the text tag here is going to be hidden, but it's going to be wrapped inside the class name. So we don't need this text also. Text size 4 doesn't exist, but remember that it's just text 2XL. Literally text 2XL in this case. So we don't have view align center. It's like try the same thing. So this is going to leave because all we need to do is just align center, and that's all. So we have a gap of 2. It's going to be 1. 2 is like 1 in Tailwind CSS. So this text dynamic stuff is just weird. Once you know your way around it, you should be able to like move from using styles to using Tailwind and all of those things. So we spent 15 minutes, about 15 minutes. We are almost done with our whole setup. Let me see, what did I change from here? I forgot. Size 4. So this is 2XL. Size 4 should be like about that. So the last one, the last part we are trying to change here for the about here is like trying to modify. So I'm going to import the card. So this is like class name, the Excel. So variant doesn't have surface. Variant for card doesn't even exist in this case. So we're going to align doesn't exist. We're going to create items center. I'm going to create a gap for it since gap doesn't exist. Also, gap 3, I'm going to make it 2. So GitHub is, yeah, we're just going to import that from Lucid. Click doesn't exist, it's on press. So I'm going to comment this out because it's not even pressable, so it won't work. So external link. Okay, so we created a component called external link that we used for something. So I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to copy this out. Okay, cool. No. External link is just an icon in this case. Yeah. So it's an icon here. So we don't need this. We don't need this. It's an icon here too. So I'm just going to copy this style. Paste this here. Yeah, so we're good. So mail also is like an icon that we from Lucid. So the benefit of using Lucid is that we can use the same code base and just make sure we import Lucid and Lucid React, two different places, and they work the same way, literally because they are the same fonts, just for two different devices, two different frameworks rather. So we have this as, what did I remove from here? It did. Okay. Okay, so this text size is 4. So we have this. Then we have the color gray class is text muted foreground. Then we have the size of 2, doesn't really matter, it's the same thing. So we don't have a separator. I'm going to comment that out. We have the color grade 2, which is like at the end of the day the same thing. Color grade 2 size of 2, then size of 1. So text muted foreground, then same size, then same thing applies here. Text muted foreground, muted foreground, but the size here is going to be very small. So it's going to be the text of small. And that is it. We are finally done with making this work. So we don't have the bottom navigation for the about page. We removed it, so we are not using it. So we need to work on this also. So the app name was gotten from somewhere. In this case, it's going to come from our constant. In this case, that's our app.json file. Supposed to be coming from app.json, just the same way it came from there. So that's what the package JSON means here. So if you look at, okay, I've closed that, but that's what it means. So we get it from there and we use it. So in this case, now we have the constant. There's a place we use constant dot something, expose something. Okay, I'm not sure what this is exactly. Expo public. Okay, constant expo config extra dot something. So we want to use the same thing, constant dot, but in this case, it's not going to be expo config. It's going to be for our app.json file, right? So it's, instead of expo.config.extra, so it's going to be expo dot something, maybe dot name. Let's try it. So it's going to be constant, constant, which is from this dot name, as you can see here. So we have the name already, constant dot version, expo version, system version, device version. So all of these things, right? We can just pick any one that we want to. So I'm just going to call it version in this case. That's the app version dot JSON. So the app version is the reset version. That's the version. Okay, so the version exists, right? There is no version, but it works. Okay, you know what? Let's just leave it. Let's see if it breaks or not. But currently we have a so Lucid GitHub doesn't even work. All of them are like gone, deprecated. All right, so that's fine. We have one last thing we need to fix, which is, oh yeah, wait here. So we have our bold weight here. This, underline this, and then we set our font bold. So yeah, so we have that done. So voila, we are done, and done with about page. So what we can do now is go to this layout also, set the about page in the stack so that we can always just use that from here, just the same way we've done every other page, right? We have the every other page that we've created, even though we didn't add them here by default. We already know we have like this default configuration for all the other pages. So what I'm going to do just to make it easy to work with is implement the other pages as a stack. So I'm going to implement the, let's start with the accounts page, then do the same thing for send page. do the same thing for, of course, we don't need the header shown here because it's already defined here in the parent, right? Like in this parent welcome screen, which is like the parent screen. So I can literally leave this out for all of them. So we can just continue here. So we have the send, we have the history, then the next one we have the settings, and then the about page. But we know that settings is an about page, so we can do that. But for now, let's just put everything like top level. So what's going to happen is if I go here, I can literally navigate to the about page now from our index file. So where we had this the other time, all I need to do is just on press of this, basically just link this to the router, and that's all. So I say on press of this, it takes me to router dot. I'm going to import router dot push, and I'm going to add that to about. Let me try it, and that's all. So okay, so that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Okay, this is how it should have been. Big mistake. So we have all of those. Okay, so as you can see now, if you click on learn more, it should take us to the about page. The about page does not have did we remove the show back button? Yeah, so show back button is automatically going to give you this back button again, and then it's just going to display it, and we can go back to where we're coming from. So if I click this now, I can move this automatically. But you can see that our tests and the design and everything seems very, very vague and terrible. But we can always fix that, right? That's the point. So going back to this was the last thing. Sorry, I want to make a change for something or something. All right, so this is what it looks like. So let's compare the two. So if you look at this, you can see it looks somewhat similar. Like I said, the gray color for Radix is very, very beautiful. It just pops. You can see how it makes sense on this background. But that's what we are working with. I'm not doing anything crazy yet. So yeah, let's do that. So we can see that the version here doesn't work. We don't have the version, but we have version. So we have 1.0.0, which is correct. The name of the app doesn't even exist. So we are going to use expo.config.name also. So I'm going to do this. So we already have the name. So what I'm going to do here is just to capitalize on it like this, and the about page should do the same thing. Yes, very good. So yeah, let's not waste time on that. We are done with this. So one last thing to do is one last thing. I keep saying one last thing, right? Yeah. So one last thing still. This is going to be item center. So it centers it. Then I'm going to give it a gap of 2. So it looks like this. And then we are going to so we are going to give it this Excel. So let's see. Yeah, that's perfect. So we um okay, so I believe that doesn't add to it. I think it's because it's a scroll view. Okay, so yeah, we have that, then the description, then all of those things. Okay, so basically we have everything we need for this to work. We have our scrollable functionality, we have yeah, on the backspace, on the backspace. Right, so we are good. Right, perfectly okay. So we can go back. We don't need to bother about that. Let's implement the other functionalities there. So we've done this. So one last thing we need to do to make sense is to go back, implement this. So let's copy the QR code display that we already installed and add that to our header on the main page. So this is going to be like basically just straightforward. We have the theme toggle already implemented, chain select, which is our selection for the chains, right? Which you still need to tweak a bit. So after we are done with this, all we need to do is just like, okay, you know what? Why I can't work while AI is doing some stuff. That's why I can prompt it to keep working as I'm working also. Because we need to create some stuff for like the account, for instance, right? But we'll come back to that. So next thing we need to do here is in order to complete this, we need the QR code. Now the QR code here simply is we have our we have our QR display, right, which we've installed. Did I copy the QR code? I only copied it, I didn't paste it anywhere. Oh, that's dumb. So I need to go and copy this again. Sorry about that. QR. Trying to search for QR here. So which is QR display? If I go to QR display, you can see we have our QR display here. So if I go here, navigate to QR display, resolve. You're trying to move fast. So I'll just copy my QR code here because I want it to work. So I'll paste it after the name, which we have here. That will be somewhere here. I'll call that QR code. So for now, we're just going to be QR code. We are going to style it eventually. Currently, we need to import this, which I've not done. So I need to close this. So I'm going to just copy this, right, and close this. Since we have our QR code implemented, and that's basically it. Okay. All right, so the value is what we are trying to copy. But in this case, it's not going to just show us value, right? Because, yeah. So the value is supposed to be the address, rather. What am I doing? So it's supposed to be address, right? It's going to be the user dot address. So that's the value we are trying to send to the QR code or get from the QR code. So I'm going to change this to just 20 because we want it to be very small. As you can see, very small. And we can make it 24 to give it bigger, 32 to make it a bit bigger. Then we can do some styling on it. I think you can style it. I'm not sure. Or we can do that with we can wrap it in a text, like a view, I think. Then style the view to give that a styling. We already enabled background for it, so it has a bit of background. Also, logo color, logo background. Is there a padding? Oh, padding. Let's see. Quiet zone. Let's see. This is like 10. So let's see what we have in the quiet zone. Okay, yeah. So that's that. Does it have any other styling property? Background color, logo color, this. All right, so it doesn't allow us to do that. What we can do is to style this. So we can give this a background of foreground, and which is going to take the white color also and use that. We can see the difference if you use color orange 3D 300. So to make this very easy to see, I can copy it here. Right, this is, like I said, we are trying to make this not too posh, or what's the word? Let me give it 200 again so we can see the changes being made. So the changes being made here is I'm trying to rounded Excel. So doing this is not going to take the space at all. That's one of the terrible thing about this library. This doesn't take the shape of the parent. So it doesn't allow you to do that. But what we're supposed to do actually is not to implement the QR code directly here. We just want to style it here. Then we implement like a QR code button that triggers the out button because it's a dialogue and all of those things. So we'll talk about all of those. Yeah. So this is rounded. This should be. Can't I style this? There's no style. Okay. Get ref, ECL logo, size, blah blah. All right, so it seems we can style it. We should be able to also do something though, even if we can't style it, we can actually. So what we can do is item, we can hack it to make it work. It doesn't need to be styled properly, but we can hack it to make it look like it's being styled. It's literally possible. Okay, so what we're going to do is this is how it's going to look like. I'm just going to leave this here. I need to go copy something else again from this project. We want to implement the QR code functionality and we want it to work. So how do we do that? I go to my QR code. I think it's QR code I'm looking for. QR code. Yeah. So I go to this QR code here and I copy this dialog because I need this dialog. So the reason for this is straightforward. The dialog is still the same thing as what we have coming from here. You can see we have a dialog here, but it's a bit different. Dialog syntax here is different from the dialog syntax. This is the dot formation or the dot syntax. This doesn't use the dot syntax. But aside from that, it's the same thing. Dialog trigger, the dialog itself, content, the header, the description, title, footer, close. Literally the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this since it looks extremely alike, right? And then we're going to use it. Oh, you know what? I'll just copy the QR code itself, okay, which I've already done, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so I'm just going to close this. So it won't be getting slowed down. So I'm going to go to my QR code here, copy this. I don't need all of this. I just need this guy. So I'm going to remove whatever is not needed. We don't need this library, but we need the other library from the home page. So I'm going to copy this library now because this is exactly what I want for this. So I'm going to replace the QR code that is being displayed here. Where is it? Where are you? Yeah, this one. So I'm going to convert this or replace this with this. Literally the same thing. So this is going to be taking this. I'm going to replace that with this because that can't work anymore. So we are going to replace all this radix thing. We are going to replace the chain metadata and everything that we have. Why are you complaining? Like import of, have you imported it? Where did you import it? So we are going to replace every dialog dot with, we're going to remove the dot before the dialog, so everything should work fine. Then we need to import the dialog itself from, not from radix. It doesn't even exist in radix. Of course, we know that chassis, and like I said, is radix behind the hood, so it works perfectly for our use case. But we are taking it from dialog this time around. Everything is from dialog, the one from the component. So we are picking everything from components. So we don't have flex, we are just going to use view. We don't have flex, we are going to use view. So we are going to pick it 1-1, make the change again. What was this error for? Oh yeah, this is QR code. So I'm going to call it QR code dialog. Yeah, so the name conflict, right? So we don't need this this since we know what it is. Of course, we still need it because there's a function called this testnet chain that we can use to determine if it's, you know what, to deal with that later. We don't need that for now. So first thing I want to do is remove the QR code icon. The QR code icon is what displays as the trigger. We can't use an SVG like this in React Native. It's going to throw errors. So this is going to be out. In fact, I'm going to comment out everything here. I still want to use this, but for now we're going to tweak them later on. There's a way to convert native icons to React Native icons eventually to make them work, but we're not doing that currently. There's just a lot of things, a lot of reasons why we can't. It takes more time. We are trying to be fast here, right? So let's proceed with what is paramount. So text muted foreground for our we can use this hidden. So since this is hidden, we just remove it totally. There's no point. So the max width removed. The align is going to be class name of align item center, and it's going to be justify center also. Then remove the other ones. So we are just simply converting. All we are doing now is just converting basic stuff from the way it was in Radix to using actual React native stuff. So this doesn't take pixels, so we can use pixels, we can use pixels, we can use pixels, we can use pixels, and we can use border like this. So sorry about that. One, we can use this. We can use this. I think that's all. Padding, we don't need that. So we are going to work with the user here. So we need to import the user from here. Call it user equal to use user. So we are going to do that. So automatically we have access to our user, so we can just call the user here, and that works. So this style is still complete. It says 20 is not assignable to dimension value or undefined. What do you want from width? Direction, we don't need this. It's automatically taking direction class. So item center, justify center. The gap is 3, so we need to use gap 1 in this case. All right, so this remains what we have. Then we need to change the style here. We need to import the card from here directly. We don't need variant of ghost. We use something else. What else? The empty2 will not work, but we can do the empty of 1. Flex does not work. We use the view. Direction, we don't need it. Text, we've not imported text, right? So yeah, that's a problem. So we need to import text. We need to import our text from this at source dot component slash UI slash text. So that is imported. The user here is correct. Yeah. So QR code icon, we think nope. QR code should be QR code coming from Lucid. I need QR code from Lucid. Yeah, so QR code should be fine. So we should be able to start that to do what we want. So button, icon button is just button in this case. So button but of type size. Size of the button should be icon. Yeah, so that should work. Variant is soft. There's no soft variant. It's secondary. Then show address QR code, title, size, color. There's no color. So grass will not work because grass is still a color of radix. So we can't use grass or color. That's not a property. So we remove that and let's move down here. So the text aligned, we can't use that. We can only use that if it was the default value for. Okay, we can't actually. So I'm actually missing this, missing this on two different things now. So we have this, we can have the size too, but we need know that the size is small in this case, so that works. So we have the accounts, this, then we have the view for this also. Then we have the copy component, which is just it was a component we used for copying stuff before. That I created the component to do that. So on click of just copy address, it copies the component automatically. But we don't have that component now. I think we do. Copy component is coming from. Oh, that's fine. But it's not going to work because this is clearly not implemented for this. Right. So this is for native, but it's not going to work. React copy to clipboard. We don't need this because we already have a copy to clipboard functionality that we implemented ourselves. So using this is different. We can use this as a component too. So we need to implement this to work with that. Okay, we are going to use AI for this. I don't want to have think of that right now. Let me just fix this, then we go back to that. So we say justify center, we remove this. So this is going to be like, I'm just going to keep this out here. The button, the entire button is going to go out. Once we are ready to implement this and we'll fix this, we bring it back. So we can use it once and for all. So the size of the button doesn't exist. It's just small. So which is small. Variant is secondary in this case. So that's the change. So WX auto, W auto, MX auto is fine. Button is the same thing. Just empty one. Do this. So we'll continue with the variant. Card does not have variant in this case. Card doesn't even have variant in. So we can't use that. So we have this, we have get network type doesn't work. So get network type should work, but we need to re-implement this eventually to work for our use case. Currently it can't, or it won't in fact. So we are going to implement this. So yeah, we'll come back to this. So dialog close should be coding from there too. So we are going to use view here. So there's no justify end and there's no gap 3. So justify here is going to be justify is going to be end, gap is going to be 3, but in this case it's going to be 2. So this is no icon button, it's just button with a size of icon. And there's no variant solid, it's the default. There's no color, so we need to style the color of ourselves. So we need to use a destructive actually if we want to use that. Yeah, so that makes sense. The radius doesn't exist. We need to style that with class names, rounded full. Okay, so we successfully completed all of this. There's no weight bold. We need to implement font bold. Then there's no title here. But title is not really an issue. You should have title, but title is for web stuff. So except we want to implement area native functionalities, which are not trying to. So now we are done with this. Let's test it out to see if it works. We can just import the components and click it and see if it works. So we'll go back to the main and we'll replace all of this that we have here. All of this that we have here directly with you know what? Let's just do this first of all. I will leave this. I'll leave this here. We'll replace everything we have here with the QR code component. QR code dialog. So we'll replace it with QR code dialog. So if you click on this, it should config chains. We are using config chains. It's testnet. We are using this testnet. Have I not commented out? I did. $248. It's clearly not here. Okay, so I'm going to just reload that. Let's see if it works. Oh, I'm not using this. What is happening? Where's the path? Am I using that anywhere? Change configs. Oh, get network by chain ID. I don't think we are using that anyway. Yeah. So I'm not using this. I don't even want it to work. So return that. I think we should be good. So I'm just going to refresh this. So there's a lot of things we still need to remove, but for now, let's just proceed so we can know what we've done so far. All right, I think we're good. Yeah, our screens are back. So this is what we have. This is what it looks like. So we have this. As you can see, we can click on this and you should be able to give us a dialog, but it's not working. So we need to find out why it's not working and fix it. So we have this dialog here, which is supposed to show us something reasonable, but it's not. So we need to find out why it's not displaying what we should have. Probably the portal doesn't work or something, but since the select works, it's supposed to work for us too. So, but that's something else we need to check. Going back to the QR code, let's see the first thing. The first thing we have, is there any error here? Extraneous, too many screen defined. Extraneous, okay. So going to our layout. I think it's already complaining of this. We don't need too many screens, I guess. That's good to know. Okay, let's see what else. Let's reload that. And if you check it out again, if you click on this, does the bad dialog display? It doesn't display. Wow. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the main and see. It doesn't display currently. We'll get it to work. We'll get it to work. That's no problem. Let's not dwell on that. So going back to this, the trigger should work. The icon here, this should display as expected. The padding here, that's why I wanted to implement padding. So padding should be, I think padding was 0 the other time, right? So padding for the button should be actually very small. The width of, oh no, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. This is it, the QR code here. The button here is the size of icon. The QR code size should be 20, right? Which, or let's say it's 16. For some reason, why is this having that? can't use as child, so we can't use the small misbehaves. Okay. All right. So that's what we have. So if you have this, why can't I click this? What's happening? The trigger doesn't work for the QR code. Okay, let's see how wiring this properly. The dialog trigger as child here. So we're supposed to use as child on this, and I believe that's why. So I'm not using a div here. I should have changed that by now. Let me look for you. There's a div. Oh no, there's a div. So there should not be a div. So we need to use it as a view. We use it as a text inside the view. That's how we implement all of this div stuff. So this is flex. You need to specify definitely for mobile. So flex row should work. So let's see if there's a div. There's no more div. So if I click on this H2, I usually don't even use H2. That how do I have that here? Wow, that's a weird thing to have. Doesn't feel like my code. I really don't use H2. I don't use it at all. All right, that's good. It means that I've written unnecessary code here. So I'm going to just change this from being small. Okay, let's leave it that way. So let's refresh this and let's see. So this is what it should look like. It should look better than this, obviously, but this is what we have currently. So we know it is working, even if it's not perfect yet. It's supposed to be showing me the address and some other things, which, yeah. So we are still going to come back to that and fix all of those. So yeah, let's see, what's that? The copy address works. Copy address works. We have the copy here like this, and this one is taking this a color of so this is supposed to be this. So this should take the color of the parent itself by default for the icon copy button. So you can see that works already since we already have the button. So that works. So the next thing we have here is this is what we are supposed to resolve automatically. This. So we need to have this, and we need to have this defined. You can see this working here. So this is supposed to be 200, I guess. The quiet zone should not even be there because we want it to display. But currently not being displayed. So if there's active account doesn't work. So we are supposed to say instead of using active account, we say if user dot address, in this case, display us this. So we're just going to implement the border radius for this, call it 8 in this case. So it's rounded. So as you can see, it's rounded now. So I'm going to give it 16 just to make it a bit. 12 is fine. I think 12 should be better. Yeah, 12 is perfect. So we can now style the color to make it different. Looking at it, comparing that with this, you can see the difference, right? We just added a bit more flex to this one, pizzazz to make it look cool. Then the buttons definitely don't look the same way. We are going to fix that also. And what else do we have there that we don't have here? So we have this, the address, account address should be displayed. It's currently not displayed. Let's look at why. So we have the active account address. So in this case, it's going to be user address changed. So as you can see, it is here, and this is here like this. So we need to change the style also. We don't want the font mono. I think I want the space mono, I guess. So yeah, something like this. Font mono, space mono, we can always make that work. And then we can increase the size of the text. It's actually small here. And we need to shorten the address too, because here we can see we're using all the address. So we don't really need to shorten it. We can use it the same way it is. And well, we need to also change the copy address, right? Why is this copy button having this blue color for everything? That's just messy. So secondary goes to this. All right, so we have this as okay, so we are going to have this. going to use the iron icons. I'm going to give it a name of copy. Size is 12, stroke width. It doesn't have stroke width, so I'm going to remove that. So this is going to be text. So this is going to have this and this, and it's going to be outline. Yeah, so it looks something like this. So we can increase the size to 16, just to give it a bit more size. So we know it's a copy component. So this looks similar, even though it's a bit different, right? So we call this 14. 16 is a bit too much. So we know it's a copy button. So we have this. Why does it have this? Why does this have this border? It shouldn't. So where the address is, we have all of this. That's so strange. That's a border. Oh, because of the card. Yeah, so we have the card, and the card gives that border, which you don't want. It should be PG transparent. The border should not even exist. The border should be 0, because we don't want border. We don't want margin for it. We don't even want it to have anything that has to do with that. So we click on this again. As you can see, the border is gone, similar to what we have this here. You can see the color changes are quite messy though. Like it doesn't work the way we want it to work, and the close buttons are just off. So what we need to do is we need to, I think we have to close buttons. That's why they are stacked up on top of each other. So what we need to do here is, if I'm not mistaken, does the close button work the same way? Just to see. Oh yeah, it does. So this close button appears there. So we are just going to close this because we want it to look this way. We're going to remove this, and yeah, let's see. So I'm just going to start with the close button itself with the button. So this as child. So taking the color is destructive. So what's the essence of having this if I still can't tweak it here? That's just messy. Okay, so we have that here, which is like the only other thing. So what's the essence of having this background close when we already have that close there? So this one is for this and this, then this is here by default. So we don't need that. There's no need for that. Okay, that's fine. So we don't need all of this there. So we just comment this out, or I just hide it. So we have this, even though I don't appreciate the way it looks, but that's what we can do for now. You know what? I'm going to make it look the way I want it to look. It needs to look absolutely exactly how I want it to look. So this is going to be PG destructive, and okay, so the color should be similar to what we have. Okay. So it's giving this green colored icon for this, which another issue. I don't like the way this. So I'm just going to give it a text destructive. Copy this foreground here and give it to it here, and that should fix this, but it doesn't. close. So yeah. Okay, so that's fine. So I'm going to increase the size of the text to LG. I'm going to increase the size from 16 to about 20. Yeah. So this is fine. You can always reduce this to like size of 6 to make it smaller, and it will still work the same way. Yeah, but I think it is fine. Yeah, so it looks similar to what we have now. Comparing this and this, as you can see, if I'm to use this, the wallet itself, it will look a bit similar now. So if I click on this, you can see this looks like, and this looks like. And obviously, this is more work. We still need to do a lot of stuff to make it work, yes, but at least it looks similar, yeah. So we are going to still do that, all those tweaks. We're going to remove the border here. There's no border for our card. We don't want our cards to have border, so this is how it's going to look like. Another thing is I'm going to change the background. The background is a bit too backgroundy, so I want to make it secondary actually. So it maintains that secondary color. Okay, it's not for the dialogue, it's for the content. PG secondary. So yeah, something like this, or accent should be fine, or we can use leave it as BG card. I think secondary is like this color, but secondary is like a bit more reasonable, even though it doesn't look cool, but it still works. And then we can round it to be 2XL because that's like we're using this roundedness for all our models to make it more appealing. Then we can add a bit of border to it, muted. So it has that simple border feel. So this is this. So we have that border airline. So we have that simplicity for the borders, as you can see here. Of course, the colors are not great. Like I said, we still need to change the colors. They are absolutely not great. What was the issue with this? 220 is now assignable to this. So yeah, so we have this perfect. We don't need to change anything for now, but we still need to change the background we have here because background default, we don't have default, and the colors are a bit too dark. We don't want that. So looking at the layout we use, remember when we configured the layout and gave the color to the layout, we said you should use the dark color theme background. So we can do the same thing for all our backgrounds. For instance, the card, or in this case, this one. So we can use the dark theme dot this for our color scheme. So we can just use the theme here for when we want to configure the card, and we do something like that. So instead of using the BG card as the color, BG card color is a bit annoying the way it looks here. It's not supposed to look this way because it's supposed to have this gray light color that you see here. This is the color it should have. That's the actual shading color, but we can always tweak our own. We don't want to put too much or assume too much on this. So we're going to use this. I'm going to get that color scheme from the color scheme itself. We know we are not using the color scheme at all. So we're just going to call it, if it's that color scheme, use this. So we're going to say the background is going to be this. So for our card, this is going to be the background color. So that means we need to use it not inside class, but as a style. In fact, we're just going to do this. Copy the entire style from here and paste it here. We don't need the flex one. We only need the background color. Yeah, that's it. So that should give us all we need. Same thing applies to dialogue, right? So like I said, this is configurable, so we can always make changes for what we want and what we don't want. So for dialogue, because we want it to be the same color. Another thing we can do is like do it from the CSS. It's easier to actually change all of this from the CSS. So I'm just going to just clear all of this for now until I get a good color from the CSS that we can use, and then we'll use that instead. That makes sense. So I'll just assume this is fine. We're going to do color tweakings and all of those things eventually. So the button, this, and then the text that we have. So this doesn't work to click or to close the modal, but it's supposed to. So if I click on this, it's supposed to close, but it doesn't do that currently. So let's go and see why that is happening. So we go to the QR code dialog here, and then we check the close button. Remember that this is that's child here. So it means if you close this now, it should work. Yeah, so that makes sense. All right, so we'll be good on this. We have everything we need. So I can go back to the main. So it's shaping up to look similar to what we have here. As you can see, we have this similar stuff, not the same, but similar. We have our icon, we have our drop downs. Of course, we can't finish everything like at once. We still need to tweak it, but the main stuff is supposed to work. So the main stuff we want to work on today is all of the send transaction, but we want to see the effect here when we make changes, as you can see here currently. So what we need to do here is I'm going to leave this BG orange from here. I'm going to leave it this way. Now, of course, this is not going to be here. It looks good like that. I actually like the way it looks there. It's not like a design choice for is that you can click and share your very, very sharply. But that's not what we are trying to do. So yeah, it works something like this. We can use to something like this. So but then I'm going to hide this. It's not part of our design. So I'm going to leave this out of it. So this is what we have. So let's go to our account. I want us to implement the account and then add some other features to it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to copy the entire thing we have here. The way the alert looks like from here, we're going to copy it to account. We're going to go to one. We're going to go to account, add it to our alert here. Now you see that also took a bit of time because when we did it, that was in the last part 2 or part 3 of part 4. It took a lot of time to get that, but now you'll be able to get this. I'll use that in this case. So we can do the same thing for here as it works, and we have this for our icons. We can do this. So we say the padding is 2. So definitely this is supposed to be a view, like this is supposed to be a view or a scroll view in the actual sense, because we want it to be scrollable, right? And that's exactly what it's supposed to be, because we want to have multiple cards that should be scrollable within the scroll view. So we need to have this as a scroll view. So then we start the scroll view to have a gap of 2 and a padding of 2. So that way it still retains the same thing as before. So I think I've noticed that scroll view doesn't seem to respect the gaps, doesn't respect gap. So I won't really delve too much on that. But then this still works. So scroll view. So you know what, I'm just going to leave it until we have this. So this is what we have. We have this now. So the account page, we don't need this text again. This is the account page text. We need the card to display this. So what we need to do is we want to the badge. We had a badge that we could use to. I think I added this here yesterday. We got the test form here, and we used that. That was fine. So it's time to use AI now to do some design choices. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to say that it should okay, no, we don't need AI yet. I just still need to design this. So let me go to global.css. So I don't like the way the card displays here. So it's a bit shabby. Personally don't like the way it displays. Tailwind configs. We have the colors, we have background, foreground, primary, secondary, destructive, hard, and other stuff. Okay. So the way the card shows here for the dark is like it's like 5.9. So we see the changes in real time if everything goes well. Okay, nothing is being changed. Let's see the secondary. What do we have in secondary that made it different? 14.9. Okay, so make it 13.9. That's the difference. Okay, so it looks this way. Yeah, I prefer it this way. I prefer it this way. It looks a bit subtle, way better than the way it was before. I don't like the 3.9. So let's take this as our card. So just change it once and it changes everywhere. So going back to check this now, this should look a bit better. So we'll do the same thing for dialogue too. We are going to use the same for our dialogue and our background also. In fact, we're going to do the same for our dialogue and our background. So it should look this way. You should have our dialogue looking this way now, but I don't like the way this looks. So we make this 8. I think that should be better. Yeah, it looks big. So let's make this 7. So it's falls to 8 at the end of the day. Yeah, so this is better. This is way better, more subtle than expected. So we have that, and we can do the same for our cards, for our background. So we go to, let me just make this change, the last one, this, and make this instead of the border, I'm just going to give this a BG also. So I'm going to BG a BG of background. So respect the background of the okay, so that's fine. So this should look similar to what we have. If I click this, right, this is a bit still prone. I prefer this subtle one, more subtle vibe that it has here. All right, so I think that makes sense now. Yeah, this looks a lot better, way better than what we had before. All right, let's go to the account, right, and see what's up with this one. So let's look at the title. Why is this not displaying anything here? So for the account, we have, where is the badge? We have the title. Then inside of the title, okay. We have the title, then we have, so I'm going to do this. So we have the title and the badge. So I'm going to bring the badge out of the title, and so it looks this way. Why is it not being displayed? Why is it displaying this way? Here's the badge. Okay, so that's why. So we can take it back into the title, I guess, and it should show this way. And okay, so we can do this instead. Flex row. So in this case, we have the flex and the flex row. We have a gap for this. We can't use the gap here. So we move the gap into this place. And then we have that. So we have the badge here. So the essence of the badge here, the essence of the badge here is to not be a badge access, to be active. Active in the sense that that's the only account we have. So we make these items center, and this should affect it this way. Then one last thing we do have is the address. We have the address here, but it's muted, foreground. So it should look something like this. When we click on this, it should look like this. Okay, this is not bold enough. Let me use this. So it should look like this, right? The same stuff, the same background, and other things. We can have variants to our card to make it look like Radix, which I probably will still work on eventually. So we have the account, we have the text. So there's an extra stuff down here that's been displayed. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I get that now. So this is supposed to be flex row, justify between items center, gap to, just in case. Yes. So we have this. We have our text. If I'm not mistaken, this should be flex one. No, not again. So I can't flex that container. I'm unable to do that. Oh, this should be for this. Everything I define here should be here. Okay, so we're supposed to have that value. What is happening here? The description, this is flex. The description has the text and the copy. So this should not be row. It should be column. Okay. So this is for, oh no, mistake. All right, yeah, I get what you're trying to do now. So this makes sense. So this is what we're supposed to have. So I'm going to go to the account balance component that we created, and we created it as text muted foreground instead. So it's supposed to um flex this container, but we can't do that. So we're supposed to flex one this. So that's not going to work. So we can have W full here too. It's just going to spoil it. So what we can do is wrap it in another view and wrap this view here and flex one this. I think it still doesn't work. Why? Wow, that's terrible. Okay, so instead of doing the double wrap, what we can do here is we can move this way and implement class name, everything we have here, basically. So this becomes empty, and this takes our actions. So in this way now we have this. We can minimize this for this, and we can have this also for this. Okay, I was just wondering why. Okay, yeah, so we have this now. It was because of the food that was on the account balance itself. So we have this defined. So what we can do is we can remove the extra padding on the card itself. So it looks this way. So it looks something similar to what we have here. But we can increase the text. In fact, we definitely need to increase the text because the address itself looks extremely small, right? And we can do that by increasing the font size. Large, I think large is fair enough, but it should be extra large, and it should be bold also, but still within the same color. And it should have a gap of 2, so that there's a gap between the text and the other text. But that doesn't work, so yeah. So we should have this same thing, and then we should be able to okay, so this doesn't work. I don't need this. All right, so we have that. Let's just make it 3. So it looks a bit more like what we have here, right? So one more thing to do is to make the icon copy outline. So it looks like every other one we've done so far. So it's 16, still 16. Let's make it 18. This should be bigger because these are the cards. So for this card, we can give them a bit of border airline, border muted, if I'm not mistaken. Muted foreground. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, something like that. But then that's just worse. So we're going to give it a secondary foreground. Secondary should be fine, right? Or just card, PG card should be fine. Border card should be fine. Since no, we've changed card already, so it will work. Let's call it secondary assets. I think that should be fine. Foreground. Okay, you know what? Let's make it what we're feeling best at this point. So I'm just going to leave that as muted foreground. Then I'm going to like reduce the opacity to very slow, very low number. So that way it still retains that but not too pronounced. So it's going to be 20. So even if it's on dark mode or light mode, it's still going to work as intended. So something like this, that's fine. So it makes you know that yeah, something is there and that we have an item we are working with. Right. So two more things to work on here. The first one is the gap here. The py here should be 2. It's 2. Yeah. It should be much more like this. It should be more rounded to look like what we have. A bit more. So the gap here should be 1. 2 is fine. So the gap between the top and the bottom should literally be 1. If I should be 0, actually, there should be no gap. There's no need for gap. So 0 should not even be there because there's no need for gap. If I say 0.5, is there a need for gap? No, there's no need for gap. So we don't need the gap between these two, just like we have this. But we need to increase the size for this also. So let's call it LG. So yeah, it looks like that. Then for this one, for the badge itself, we can LG make it a bit bigger. Yeah, something like that is fine. We can then reduce 0.5. Wow. Okay. Okay, so we have something like this, even though the colors are a bit different, but yeah, looks cool. So we have that. So clicking this should also work when we copy this. That's what we should have. Then the text also should be increased for the balance. The account balance should have a text bigger than what we have currently. So it should be text of large, extremely large, in fact. So we can like see the account balance at a glance. So we can see this, we can see this, we can see this. So we are also supposed to have a way to click this and see that in that. But one last thing we're going to do is, fortunately, this takes a lot of time. As you guys can see, this takes a lot of time because imagine having to convert the screen, even if you're using AI to do all of this or something else, it still takes time to implement. But you can see everything shaping up little by little. We have the screens coming up, we have the tweaking and all of those things. Everything is working out, but we're not done. Still not done. We still need to add some other things. So let's go to the send functionality. I think that's the main thing I wanted to cover today initially. So the send page doesn't have anything that we have or that we want. But if you go to this one, let's look at the way the send page looks like. It looks a bit more polished. This is how it looks like. It tells you the change you are on and gives you a from, a to page, and then the accounts that you have. So currently we've not implemented the account management yet, but we will. And as you can see, we're having that conversion happening real time, but we are still going to get there. But let's create like a structure for it. Let's scaffold it and then we move from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, but I already have it created, so there's no point in recreating it. So I'm going to copy what I need, the pieces, modify it, and reuse it. So the first thing we have is this one, so that when you are on the same page, you see the account you want, the chain you are. In case you don't want that, you can always switch the chain. I know it's a very subtle thing to have, but it makes sense for good user experience. So what we are going to do is go back to, go to the account, copy the alert that we have here, go to the same page and use what index. So go to the same page, copy this alert here, replace with this. Same way we have this here, copy this first of all. The body should have this. So copy all of this here. Yeah, so we're good. We copy the router, the push from explore router, so it goes to the about page. But we don't need the about page here, so there's no need for the router the push here. So I'm going to just remove the router. If I'm going to remove the button totally, because you don't need the button here. We just need you to know which chain you are on. So it's going to be something like you are on which chain am I? Something like that. So this info is still going to be needed. We need the info icon. So you are on so chain. So I need to know the chain dot name, right? Because we already have the chain. Remember, we have that. So if you go there, you are on chain dot name. It's going to tell me you are on. So let's go to the same button. It's going to be on Sepolia. Perfectly defined because I'm actually on Sepolia. So it knows I'm on Sepolia. Yeah, so that's it. So it's going to tell me there's one other implementation we can add if it's testnet, right? It tell me if I'm testnet or not. So one thing we can do is we can check and say something like, so there's this function we had the other time, right? If you remember the QR code, where we have this, where we have this is testnet chain that we implemented, and that was what we used to determine what was displayed here, get network type and stuff like that. What we could do is the same way we have the chain here, we can just implement something like this, copy the chain equal to use chain like this. So we have the use chain like this, and then we can just, we've already imported it. No, not yet. So we just import the this chain. So what we can do is check if the current chain that we have, chain dot testnet. So chain dot testnet will tell you that it's testnet or mainnet. So get network type. So I don't really need to get network type anymore from my code. If I want to check where I use it, you can see from here. So we don't need that. So we can simply use this. We can implement this now just as fast as possible. I use this as a text. We can't have OL. It's not possible. So we use this as view rather. So we use this as view. We delete decimal. All of those will not work. So we use this as text. Yeah, we use this as text. We use this as text also. So what we're going to do is we are going to make changes. This is color of amber. I can't use that, so I'm going to make BG amber instead. Amber 400. I'm going to use 400 because it looks more like the amber from Radix. So the jade color, we don't have it, but we're going to use color of green. Text of green 500. 600 should be the best one. So this is text, not color. So the strong, we don't have a strong, but we still have a text you can use. We don't have a strong, we have a text you can use. We just make it bold, font bold here. Same thing here, font bold. There's no black, except our fonts we decide to use as black. So the get blockchain name is just a, we don't need that. We can just use chain.name now, like this. So most of the utility functions we already have a way to use them from Alchemy. That's one of the reasons why I said we need to pick Alchemy for this, because Alchemy already provides almost everything we need. So you see the way we just recompile or make the changes straightforward, and then we can use it. So we do not need this get network type anymore. Of course, we can use it because we want to know if it's testnet or mainnet. So we can just say get network type because it's mainnet or testnet. That's it. Or we can simply just say something like chain.test is testnet, something like this. You can do something like this can work. Chain.testnet. If chain.testnet, it will display this. So this will still work for me. We can test it out and see. So if we try this now, we can see we have this text now. It makes a lot more sense to us. Right. So yeah, that's what we have. So, but like I said, we are not done still. We still have to. Okay, so this should be for this guy. Um, yeah. So this should be for this guy. You can see this. So just to test it out, let's switch to a mainnet network and test. You can see that it changes the color to something else entirely. So looking at the way this looks like, comparing this before we move forward, you can see it has 1 and 2. That's the difference. You can see the color is similar. If I change to, okay, I can't change with the mainnet here, just testnet. But initially I implemented it to have testnet and mainnet. I just changed it and said, no, we don't want that anymore. So we'll style this eventually. Like, it's making a lot more sense, but we'll come back to style this. We don't want to do more on the styling for now. Let's implement the send feature. So for the send feature, we go back here, we go to the send. So this is the same page. We already have this. So you're on base, as you can see. Once I make the changes anywhere, it's automatically going to register that change for me, and then I can automatically just use it. So let's go back to Sepolia because I have balance on Sepolia. So it's going to show me where's Sepolia. Yeah, okay. So the poly automatically works. The balance, you can see the balance, the ETH, everything is the same. So going back here, I can see changes. And going to the send page, changes automatically. So one last thing I want to add is if I go to the send page, I want to display like this. This tells me it's testnet, so I know. Now, of course, I know that I don't need the testnet because we are going to be working with it. But for now, I'm going to add that little feature. Tell me something. Going to give me a function that I can use. So it's just going to give me an helper function that I can use to test. And it's going to be something like this. Chain.testnet. Testnet. Mainnet. Like this. Just sort of like this. So you can see it's going to tell me I'm Sepolia testnet. That's all I need. That's all we want to see. So, but then we are not done still. We need to remove this. This is the same page. We don't want that. So what do we want next? We want to show this. The from account that we want to send to and the two accounts. So we need to select one of our accounts that want to use the two and all of those things. When we have multiple accounts set up, we can choose from there like this. This is what we want to implement, but like I said, we already have that somewhere. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. So I'm just going to copy it from the extension project, which is this. I'm going to go to send. I think send select. Yeah, this one. Send select. Then not this other send page, the send select page. So here we select account. So I'm going to go to this one. Yeah, this is it. Send transaction. Yeah. So we copy. What do we need? We need the drop down for the select, right? It's actually very similar to the select for the one we are working with as well. Extremely similar. So I'm going to paste that here, even though I know that we still need to make some changes. So I need to copy this. In fact, I'm supposed to copy the entire div here and then change it from a div to a like this. So I'll copy this and paste it here. From account. Then we also copy the manual address input. Then like this. And paste this here. And the recipient address lists, which of course we've not implemented, but I'm just going to add it there for when we implement it. But for now we don't have it, so I'm just going to comment it out until we make the changes. So that's what we want to have. So I'm going to close it because I don't need it again for now until we need the other page. So we need to refactor this. So the first thing is we don't have div in mobile, so we need to change it. We don't have weight, so we need to say font bold. So I know this has taken us a lot of time. Why? Intention now, because of course we need to know that this will actually take us time. We're actually trying to build one, but let's see if we can do the main things before the 7 days elapses, which is our goal, and we are going to meet the goal. Definitely going to meet it because now that we have our main stuff set up, we just need to make some sort of things, some subtle additions, right, before we call it complete. So currently the accounts here I have are just okay, we don't have this size, we don't have this size for our select. You can always just style the okay. Okay, so let's see. First of all, I'm going to comment this out because okay, we use the impute because this one actually has impute. So we can't use text field because there's no text field here. We can use text left and text bold. So we have flex. We can't use flex. We need to have view. We don't have direction column of view. We can use this instead. So impute, we've not installed impute, but we can. So all we need to do is we need to do two things. Let's go to select and impute. So select here is, you can see, similar. How do we use it? We have every other thing plus this item, so nothing changes. Literally the same thing. So we need to install the impute because we don't have that installed yet. So I copy this, go here, install it, so we can make use of it here, as you can see. And also I can make this the label because there's a label field also that kind of like works with the input field. It's kind of like the same thing, but for HTML4 like this, for React Native and stuff. So we can use that, but yeah, there's no need. You know what? I can do that. I can install it, it will come in handy eventually. Add impute. Okay. Do I need to install reusables again? I thought I already have that. Okay, let's just proceed. Okay, so let's add label. So just save all these things I'm installing. I'm going to restart my server to know where we are missing or gone wrong in case we've installed anything wrong. And of course, we shouldn't have any issues, right? Just to be on the safe side. If not, I'll just revert straight to what I have. I don't want to have any issues with installations for now. Not at this time. So we're going to install. We're going to import that, but let's text. I'm not in. Okay, text is important. So class name should for this one should be text muted foreground. There's no block. We don't have block. React Native can proceed with address. It's a state that we need to implement. Arrow right is from Lucid. There's no variant soft secondary. There's no size 2. It is medium. Default. So on click, we don't have continue with address. It's going to be on press, not on click. We need to implement all of this. We need to implement a state for recipient address. Do we even need all of this? Then we need to have account balance, which comes from accounts that we implemented. So we have address and from account, and show symbol is true, which we don't have. But the from account works. So the color is grass. We don't have the color grass. Text green 600. 2 we have wood. So the size here. Whew. Okay, let's first we can move on from here. So this is going to be on input change now, or value change. Hopefully they give us an example. Terrible. Just terrible. On value change or just on change works. Okay. So on change is going to have this e dot target dot, yeah, not working with that. Definitely not. All right, so we have that. We have all the implementations done. We have recipient address, which we need to implement. We don't have flex, we have views. We don't have this, we have this. So the thing is, we can't just implement this actually without, we can send without using, not doing all of this. But I want us to have this so that we know we have done all the setups, then we can proceed with the functionalities at once. So that's why I'm doing all of this. It's probably easy to just create all of those functionality and then we are done. But then if you are going to give it to AI, you should be able to use our design system to proceed, which is actually the best way about it. So justify between, clear this, clear this. See, there's no gap. View leaves, select item. Why are you complaining? You resist. Label is missing. Oh yeah, it needs a label. True. So label is required. The label is going to be account dot name, which is correct. So let's we need to do some checks now. Now that we need to go back to our Alchemy to get all our chains. Currently, we don't have all our accounts rather. So currently, we know that we can get our accounts by get user, but can we create multiple accounts? That's the first question. We need to be sure we can create multiple accounts. But why we are working with that functionality, why we are not sure if you can create multiple accounts, we can do something else. We can use our current user account because this implementation first and do this. So we are just going to wrap this account we use user dot account address. So that will be our account. Okay, that not this, not this. We are going to use actual accounts, not user now. We're going to say let's go to home page. I think we use that at the home page. Can't remember the name. We used client account. Oh yeah, client account. That was what we used. So we can pick our client from here. We have a account equal to client, which we already have. We can import client. We can import client from our utilities dot account, which we can see here. So we have what other things we can call for it because account is just basically everything we see here. So we have a lot of things to implement with these ones, a lot of them. But let's pick the main ones and start with that. So we have the dot account, which is what we are going to be making use of. But it depends, it might not exist yet. So we are going to just do it this way, client dot account. So we are going to be using this account here as an array because it's not an array. So we are going to wrap it in that array sequence. It's going to make it look like, oh, it's an array, even though we know that no, it's not an array. So there's no ID for it, but there's an address. So the address is going to be the key. Then the label is going to be the. Now you see whereby we can use this actually. One of the reasons why we can use it is because we want to create a proper account type. Like I said, that have a name that has all of those things. The reason for it is this. If you look at this, you can see there's account one, test one. I'm sending from account two. So I have proper data for those. So what we are going to do is go back to this. I'm not going to use this yet. So we are going to implement our account management. So the first thing we want to implement today, which is our account management system, is where we are going to start from. So before that can happen, I need to add some more stuff to this page, which I'm not going to write, which already exists. So I'm just going to copy them. So for instance, the recipient address and from account implementation is what I will just copy because it's a state, I know, but that's not exactly what I want to copy. What I want to copy is this, is the available to accounts, can proceed with accounts and all of these features. So we're going to use this, continue with address, continue with account, and yeah, these are the functions I just need from here. So these functions still need to be reworked also because they are not perfect, of course. They still need to be changed. Selected network type. even though I know we don't need those ones. Selected network, you can get it. We already have a way that Alchemy provides easily from the chain that we can use to pick everything we want. And remember that we also have all these functions to work with, right? All of these functions, watch accounts, this. We have all of those to work with. So let's see what we have and what we need to change. So from account ID has been added, which is our state from here. If I'm not mistaken, let me remove React. We can't use navigate. Navigate here does not work. It's going to be router dot push or send details does not exist. So we need to make changes. So we need to also import the use state from React, and I'll just add this to the top. So accounts, we don't have anything called accounts in this case. We literally don't have anything called accounts. We know accounts are supposed to come from somewhere. So currently we don't have anything called accounts. So we need to have a way to like get them. So that is it. So we need to have something called account, which we load from the state. So if I'm not mistaken, we should be able to even do that. We should have something like UI store, right? I think UI store contains account. Account. Is it account list or account? Yeah, it's account list. So the account list should give us. Let me be sure. I'm not sure. So I'm just trying to see that we don't have something too different. So account list works from here. Accounts come from is here. Okay, account is just a state that we define. But then we don't need to do all that because account list also comes from there. But this is just a way of like getting all accounts. And getting all accounts comes from um, come on, be fast. Services wallet. Now with myself. Get all accounts. So get all accounts is get stored account, which comes from the store, which works. Okay, yeah, it's basically the same thing. So we don't need to bother about that. We know the account is coming from the store and is a stored account type, which is account and account ID. Yeah, an account is of wallet type and account active account ID. So we just allow the AI make informed decisions here because we don't really need it to be the exact way. We know that this doesn't give us accounts, right? Because we don't have that, but we can provide account list, which is similar. So we can use account list instead. So I'm just going to allow it to do that. But before doing that, I want to create a new page called um, send details page. So we can do that inside of here. I really don't need to do that. I can just create a new and call it details.tsx, right? So I'm creating a new page called details.tsx. Exports default function, send details screen, and return this page container. So I'm just going to return the page container. I'm going to add a view to it. That's all. I'm going to import the view and that's it for now. So I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to say send details should work perfectly now because this doesn't have any issues. As you can see, this doesn't have issues anymore. But we can pass a state to it, I guess. I think push takes extra parameters, if I'm not mistaken. It takes options. So when you use router.push, I know it takes options, but I don't know what it does take. I know it's not states. If I'm not mistaken, is like this. So it takes in extra parameters. And this also router.push similar to that. There's no state. So we can't have this. Yeah, so we can't have that. So this navigation option should give me event type, which is relative to directory with anchor. How do we send extra parameters? I know I've done that just some days ago. Oh yeah, we can chain it as we can chain it. We can just do this from account equal to. So what we can do is this. We can use query params instead. From account equals to this instead of doing that, and no, we do something like this. From account equals to this, and recipient address equal to this. This is what we need to have. We can't use the navigation options because navigation options is a totally different thing entirely. So we're going to have this and call this from account. Of course, we don't know what it is. Why did I change? Recipient address dot trim, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's going to be recipient address dot trim. So we don't have any extra space on the stuff we are trying to make use of. So wallet account is already a type that we have, right? So we are just picking that. Yeah, so same thing applies to this from account and to account. From account. So I'm going to use the backtick from account like this, and to account is going to be to account also, and that's all. So we have this here, and just to be sure, yeah, it's correct. Okay, so we've successfully done that. So that's what we're going to have here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to just allow AI and do this for us. So the trigger doesn't really have any variance too. The trigger doesn't have variance, it just have size. I think, yeah, trigger just have size, which is default and small. So default is default, so there's no point in declaring that again. You can always simply increase it if you want to. So currently this is throwing an error because we are using option, and the option I presume is value and some other things. We've done that also initially, so you can always implement this and fix it, just as we had from there, from the home page. Let's go back there. So these are things AI we struggle with, so that's why I'm trying to implement it. AI won't get this at all. This stuff I'm trying to implement here. AI is not that, it's not that versatile to get that kind of thing. So from the account ID is going to be the value I'm going to do it. So it's going to be label. The label is going to be, value is also going to be this from account ID. That's basically what I would say. So we make the change to, we won't use the unchanged from there. We'll just make it directly inside to avoid that issue. So value change is not going to appear there. So when we click the item here, just like the way we did it here, so we're going to set on press. I'm going to set it to set from account ID. So it's going to be from here. On press is going to be set from account ID. Same way we did it here. Set from account ID, then we set the value, which is supposed to be a literal string. So set from account ID is supposed to be okay. Account dot value. See account of value. There's no account of value, right? So account of address. Yeah. Okay. So set from account ID. This, it can't be the address, but we don't have the account. We don't have the ID, because if you look at the wallet state, we are supposed to be making use of wallet account has an ID, which you don't have. So we need to implement that. So first thing we are going to do is we need. So I want to implement the account. I want to implement the account. Let me see this store first. So all this data that we have in the store are not being implemented. So I'm skeptical doing this because here we just go hallucinate and do nonsense for me. Let me remove what I'm not using here so I know what I have. Supported chains is that. What else? Metadata, get network type. We already have network type, so there's no point using this. So I'm just going to say return chain, since I know that we can get that from the chain. We don't need this. all. So we are supposed to just get this from, we can't use this because we can't call a hook inside a function like this, which is similar to also a hook. It's going to complain. So we literally can't do any of this. So get blockchain name, get chains by type. Yeah, we're not going to do this. So I'm going to extract all of those. This is also going to fail. I'm going to remove this. Which other one is failing? You are also failing. Predefine chain. Get network by chain ID. Okay, we don't need all of this. Alchemy already provides us all of this. We don't need this. Which other one fails? Get network name by chain ID. If we don't have it, we can always re-implement it. We don't need all of these complexities. So get network by chain ID. All right, so we don't need most of this, right? We need to get network with status first of all, which is important. Predefine network. This will fail, so we need to comment this out. And this will throw an error too. So let's get our network group by type. So we don't need all of this function because we don't need this. Get block explorer URL. This is a good function, but we don't need it. All right, so successfully remove what we don't need here from the helper function, so we can be sure that the AI should not go looking for what is not missing. So we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We cannot custom networks. We need the get network status, which is what we need. Get network by chain ID. We don't need it. Get network with status. Okay, this is like the only one we need for that guy. Network chain, network config to chain. We don't need this too. Okay, so yeah, try removing it. If it's not needed, we don't need it. So remove this, and yeah, which is where we need to make adjustments. So first thing we need to do is tell the AI to make fixes. So I want to implement most of this implementation in the store. Have not been integrated into this app. We need to implement. We need to prepare this. Remember that is so it is all SDK hooks and types for building your logic. I have provided alchemy information that you can use for context. So that you can use for context. It is available here. available at alchemy. So I provided these LLMs.txt and .docs yesterday. I forgot to mention that when I fixed the issue, I added that also. So you might be wondering what that is. It's something you add to your page so that LLMs can understand what is happening there. So this docs is not really useful to the LLM because it's just a link to all the documentation. But the other one, which is the one in this, which is the LLMs, Alchemy LLMs TXT, is quite useful. Not extremely useful right now because it doesn't give you everything you need, but it gives you some information. Like this is just how you can set up Alchemy to work on React as a React Native project, which we've already done. And obviously, we know that AI can't go through the same pain we went through to get it to work. So that means we have a better chance of making it work than what an LLM can do for us. So, um, um, so I'm going to wait for the LLM to just like make informed decisions and tell me how it's going to implement it. So while it's planning it, we need to also implement some other things. Now, the reason for all of this and why I'm trying to rush this is because this is our part 5 in this series. Can we really finish this and make sure it works? Aside from building it and deploying it, yes, but can we build something that we can use? I can share with you guys, you can use and use to get actual funds, log out, log back in, fully functional. In the remaining 2 days we have for this series. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm going to wait for this to finish his planning. He needs to read through everything and figure that out. But while we are working on that, let's go back to the send and see what else we can implement for ourselves. Okay, before we complete that, let's work on this top part of it. So I'm going to we know that chain select our QR code are beside each other, literally beside each other. So I'm going to make a slight change. I want it to change. I'm trying to make the UI a bit different. So the chain select is going to be far right, or let me say far left. I'm going to bring it out. I'm going to add it here. And I'm going to do this. So I'm not going to justify this to the end. I'm going to make it between. So it will look like this. I'm going to remove the padding that I added to the left. I'm just going to add padding vertically. There won't be horizontal padding. So even though it's still going to be there because it's added by default to the header. So we have this. Then next thing that's going to happen is the QR code is going to remain where it is, or we move it to be beside the network. So it's easy to share with others, which I probably would prefer. And so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it here. Yep. And I'm going to view this so that they remain in the same, like this, center, like this. Yeah. So this makes a lot more sense, right? Being by that left side. I prefer it there. So chain select, I want to add one more thing to it. Why the AI is still working, right? We are going to be doing other things, preparing everything to make sure it works. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to change the way this looks. I'm going to add the background, BG background to it. So the background of this content, of the scroll view, right? And funny thing, I can't change the scroll view. I think it already took the background of the content. Let's be sure. Oh yeah, it works. So the background of secondary is what we should use. We're going to make this we're going to say empty for is 4. I'm going to make it 1 so that there's space between the way it displays. I see how configurable this is. It's extremely configurable. So we can also define the mean height so that as we have multiple things to scroll, we can say the height is 240 pixels. Okay, let's see if that works. Okay, yeah, it works, but it still retain the same scroll position. So there's no point doing that, right? So we know that our text works and everything works. So we have our configurations too. We have our scroll working. So this is the slight change I want to make. I want to make this change. So we've already done this change, right, to work like this. So this should be by the left. So one more thing, going back to the view, why this is still loading. What are you planning for crying out loud? Are you reading through the code base? Are you working? Are you not working? All right. So let's move from there to the one by the right. So the one by the right, I want to implement something else to it because we want to be able to do something. So this is what I want to add to the one by the right. There's this thing. No, this would be for our forms, right? This would be for when we start implementing the forms. Okay, this is what I was looking for, user menu. So we can add this user menu, then we can use this by also reconfiguring it also to look a bit different. So this is what we are going to have. So we can also change this also, and I might just decide to use the drop down menu instead. There's no point using that. So we can just use the drop down menu, which is even easier to use. So I'm going to install this. So I'm going to go to this guy. I'm going to paste this here. So we can use that for our menu here. So this will be our trigger. Then every other thing works for it. This is still preparing. No, something is wrong. Okay, so if that is done, let's look at how to use it. So let's look at an example here. So I'll copy this example. I know it's similar to what we have here, right? But this one is just a lot of example. I feel like it's too much. I feel like it's too much, but it doesn't matter. There won't be any control K or control P, so we don't need the shortcut. We don't need any of those things. Okay, no problem. Let's just deal with this. I'm going to copy this as the drop down. So I'm going to copy this and use it for drop down from here, which I want to add to it for a certain reason. We are going to see the reason later on. I have something planned for that. So what that means is I'm going to need to create a component here and call the component. So while I'm still waiting for this, which I don't think is going to work. All right, so I'm going to create a component here. I wanted to multitask this before finish with this, then implement that. But I feel like this crashes more these days than ever before. All right, let's create my component first. I'll come back to that. So we're going to create a component and call it profile dropdown. So you know this is source, source, source. Okay, so we have everything set up. So my button trigger should be my avatar here, just the way I have it here. So I'll just copy this and add it here, and that should be my trigger, basically. Um, okay, so that's exactly how it's going to look like. So I'm going to use the drop down menu preview. I'll call it profile drop down, and I'll take it to the home page, and I'm going to add it here. So let's see what we have. Okay, so I need to install one more thing. I need to go back here to install the so I need to install the drop down menu here. Apparently that didn't install it, so I need to install this myself. And so our run primitive drop down menu we've installed. So once this is done, we should be able to use that. All right, so one last thing, let me restart the server just to be sure we still have everything working well. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so it still works as expected. Let's check our drop down menu. Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, so far so good. As I expected, well, it didn't work as I expected. The drop down didn't work, which is supposed to. Maybe other things works. I think it's because I had it up there. Let's try something here. Let me add it into the body and see. All right, so it doesn't work as I expected. Need to find out why this is not working. Of all the components we've installed, this is like the only one not working. Okay, so we'll come back, we'll find a way to see this to make it work eventually. So apparently that doesn't work. So we're just going to leave it here. All right, so at least we've achieved what we intend to do with it, which is to display our avatar, right? And then we can use it from there going forward. So we've created that. Let's see if this is ready now. Oh no. All right, so it's working now. It's back. So let's see if it can implement that. Now that I'm done with most of what I plan to do, I think the only thing left is why this one is still reading. Which changes? He didn't mention any changes. How will I know which changes we want to implement? Oh my god, AI can be terrible. Awful stuff. All right, so this is let's see, we have the account, right? Even though this account is this is our actual account with the balance, as you can see. So this is our balance, this is our account, this is our balance, nothing different. Another thing we need to do is we need to implement the add new address feature, but we need to make some other settled stuff first. But before we implement that, I want us to work on the send, which is what we are trying to implement because we don't have most of the features for that implemented yet. So let's look at what this AI suggests. Say based on analysis, AI intends to approach this. For this, the UI store has VM chain type, manages networks taken independently. Alchemy SDK provides one chain type and use chain for network management. Component like chain select already uses Alchemy's use chain hook. The store has network switching logic that doesn't integrate with Alchemy state. And replace VM chain with Alchemy chain types in the store interface. Ensure compatibility with chains, Alchemy chain definition from account infra. Okay, the state synchronization, create a bridge between the UI and the Alchemy reactive state. The store will remain the single source of truth for UI changes, but sync with Alchemy change state. Use a custom hook to keep them in sync without circular dependencies. Modify the select network. I'm just thinking of what I'm going to do if I'm to do it, and if this aligns with my vision for this. If it doesn't, this is going to be way faster than I can implement it, like extremely faster. But before I proceed with anything, what I want to do first of all is I want to commit all these changes. All right, so I'm going to everything we've done today. I'm going to add this to VCS first of all. There was supposed to be a change. I'm supposed to implement a change, which is the change for the balance here. Alchemy provides a way for us to fetch this balance, so I don't need to implement the hook we did yesterday. But for now, that works. We can always make the change. So I'm going to create a another branch, and I'll call the branch what's that transaction. Let me call it send. No, let me not call it send. Let's call it account manager. Work on first. So I'm going to search something. So I'm not adding these docs. We don't need them. Every other thing can go. Okay, so I'm going to commit this. But before I commit, I'm supposed to generate the commit message. All right, that's fine. I just commit with that. Oh my god, it's still broken again. Um, okay, I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to prod. So we have this working. So say based on my analysis, it says I can see that the UI stuff is comprehensive but not integrated into the app. It has all the necessary state management for network selection, account management theme, wallet preferences along with storage synchronization. Here's my approach to prepare the store for its integration. The word is well structured. Yes, you created it. So obviously, I noticed several integration gaps. Store initialization in Uproot. The store needs to be initialized when the app starts. Currently, the storage sync is set up but not called in Uproot layout. Alchemy SDK integration. The store needs to connect it with Alchemy account management system, which is integrate with this context, connect active account state with Alchemy session management, sync network selection with Alchemy chain configuration, account management bridge, create a bridge, which is, I think both are saying the same thing. So I need to create a bridge, which makes sense so that there can be a sync, real-time sync between both of them. But the store will be the source of truth, so we don't need to always make fetches and have the loading times that we keep having. Like I said, I like reactive applications. Everything must be clicked and respond almost immediately. If it doesn't do that, I don't like it. So we need to, so going with this, it says modify the select network to call set chain functions. Yes. Ensure network status checking uses Alchemy SDK functions. Update storage sync to properly handle this. When Alchemy chain changes, use via this update the UI store. Exactly. So when UI store changes, update Alchemy state, maintain backward compatibility with existing components, single source of truth, leverage Alchemy built-in components, maintains existing UI patterns, and well, everything makes sense. If I'm to work with this, if I'm to implement this myself to look similar, except for some things that I don't need, but then this is going to be way faster than I can do it. So we'll make changes later on. Account management bridge, which is correct. Store active account and Alchemy account sections. Stores account list and Alchemy account management. Wallet log state and Alchemy session expiration. Network management integration. Connect the store network state with Alchemy supported chains configuration. Dynamic chain switching in Alchemy config. All of this. Do I really need all of this? To be honest, I think I don't even need the store. I think it would be best for me to create another store. This will create a source of ambiguity the way I'm thinking about it. Now, I know that the store is a good way for the AI to understand what is meant to happen. But if I'm actually meant to build this application in a way that doesn't feel like the previous one, because the previous one, even though it is reactive and all, Alchemy already provides more stuff in the SDK that I'm trying to implement here. So assuming that I don't have most of these functions in my, like for instance, custom networks, I don't need custom network. Anything that's to do with custom network, I don't need it. Anything that's to do with the network type, I don't need it. That's do with any of this, I really don't need this. But I need the gas sponsorship. I need this because there will be work things. So anything that's to do with custom networks currently not being needed. So I'm definitely going to remove all of them. Yes, so net status is just for that functionality on the home page, which is important. Of course, not really that important in this case. In fact, it's not. It can be an added feature, but not something I want to have yet. So I'm going to remove that because we don't need that. Because all mainnets will probably be online for every single time because it's not supposed to go down. But it's not just for whether it's down or not, it's for if the network is it should provide you network details this time around. So I'm going to change the way it works, but so this is not going to fly with me. I'm going to change most things here. So the theme is going to remain the same. The wallet's as state, the wallet's configuration will remain the same. The lock configuration as accounts, gas sponsorship, refresh balance, all of this will remain. I'm going to leave the active accounts, account list, which is what I really don't think I want. I can allow it after this, but not now. Let it decide based on the stuffs available for me from Alchemy itself. So I'm going to remove this account list and active account. I already know my active account. I will always know my active account by as long as I'm signed in. So I don't need this. I don't need this. The active state, the account state, and the account list. Currently, we don't have any account list. We only have one. So you can create multiple accounts, but let's start with one. Get that one to work, then go with the active ones. So anything that has to do with the custom network is going out. I don't want anything that's a custom network. Selected network, we don't need it because Alchemy has a pretty good way of giving us that info. But we can always store it to state too. But like I said, let it make the decision when we need that. For now, we don't need it. And so I'm going to remove this. Let it just store client information, like client state info, not any of this. And I don't know if it uses the persist. It doesn't use the persist, in fact. So it's not even going to persist any of this thing to the store. Yeah. So it needs to work to implement this so that when whether I stop the app, I close the app, I come back, it picks up from where I stopped. So I'm going to close all of this. Balance version, that's for reactive balance update. So we already have that. I don't think I need to have this here in the state because the balance will change, especially most times if you are okay, it's most probably not going to change. Reactive balance updates. I don't need this. Okay, I'll leave it for now. The network type, I think I will remove a lot of this because I don't need a lot of this. The accounts, Do I need the account type? I'm going to think I might not need that also. And majority of this, but just allow the AI make changes based on this. I really don't need most of these things because Alchemy already provides most of these stores for me, and I don't know if it's actually implementing them in stores, but as long as it works, we can use that. When everything is fine, we can add most of them to store and use it from there. That would be my decision with how this works. And the reason is not far-fetched. It's just because most of them are not needed, especially from when we talk about the way they work from the storage sync, like what we have here. So initialize sync between mobile storage and substance store, which is cool, but we don't need most of these things. So like load accounts in this case, we really don't need this. Of course, we need it because we want it to always load it to. We don't always want to be making fetches so that you can work offline, even though it's not going to trigger stuff. All of these things are considered. Some of the things I've considered, but so let's see what happens. Anything that's custom networks is going out. I'm not working with customers for this, so it's going to leave. So that's going out. Gas sponsorship is going to stay. Wallet lock is going to stay. Themes is going to stay. Subscribe to account changes is going to stay. But what is the account changes going to feel like? I don't know. Network changes too is going to stay. So when you change your network, you want to propagate across board. So I'm going to leave that here. Subscribe to network changes. Network type changes. No, there's no network type change anymore. This is strictly for that. We are not considering all of those. Watch store changes and save to mobile storage. So this will remain. The network changes will remain. Custom network is going to leave. We are not doing this. This is going to leave. No, let's allow that. Okay, let's look at the network type we have here. Test network minute. I don't need this. Custom interface. I don't need this. And it has a custom network. Don't go confusing the AI for me. Network config. I don't need this. Custom network form data. I don't need this. Result validation. I don't need this. Okay, so this is now lean. In fact, I really don't need the network.ts. So what I'm trying to do now is clean up because if you want to give the data to the AI, you want to give it clean data so that we can make it work all along. So even if you don't end up doing any of this today, in terms of like the complete integration for the same, so that we have the functionality to an extent, which is cool. Tomorrow, the same way we started today, which is the part 6 of the series, is going to be just diving into the code directly. But at least this looks very to what is here. As we can see, it looks like it was built to look at like even though they are still stuffing up here, but you can see similarity between them. Literally the same font, similar colors, similar structure, except for the tokens. Implementing tokens is very simple. Like I said, there's a way to make it to implement it. It's extremely simple using Alchemy. Like basically simple. So when we get there, it's probably going to take us maybe 15 minutes to implement the entire thing. Token, fetching your tokens, fetching the token images, fetching the token balances across chains, not even in single chain, multi-chain now. You can literally see all your tokens across multiple chains. So we can implement that very easily. The main thing that is the problem is this. If you can resolve this completely, and like I showed you guys yesterday, if I pick this, I'm using 2A, right? 2A doesn't have any. Okay, I won't see my balance because the wallet is locked. Once it's locked, I literally can't see anything. That's one of the benefit of using a store. So you can literally make all of those things work. So you can see my balance is back. So if I send, for instance, I go to send, it loads my balance now. If I select this one that has let's say I select account one, I know account one has cash here. So I can use that to send to probably account two or my test account. This is my test one account. So this is the interface we are trying to build to. We are going to build this interface for the send because we want to have a custom interface that makes sense. We don't want the user go building stuff they don't want. So we are going to build this interface, this exact interface here, build it and use it. So this is exactly what, so it's just going to be a copy. I already have this implemented. It's just going to be a copy. It works perfectly well. Conversions, every single thing here, you can see it works perfectly well. So you can use this to send, it works. So this is what we'll be using to send our data and it's going to make sense. It's going to work. So this is what we are going to do. So yeah, I think that's it. If there are any other questions regarding this, it's just going to be answered tomorrow or before then. Let me try wrapping up this because before I finish with this, I want to make sure that everything works properly. So in terms of like cleaning the data, so let's just finish with the cleaning of the data first of all. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to clean this myself. So the menu type, what's this doing here? Okay, yeah, this is the type that was provided for us by default for the menu, right? For this. So I'm not changing that. And also for the DAP too. The DAP also was created automatically. When we cloned this repo, it came with it. I think. Yeah, this came with it when we cloned the repo. So the account also is one thing we added ourselves. So what do we need for the account? We know the account token balance. We've not gotten to token yet, but when we get there, we'll fix it. So in this case, account balance is I don't need this. I don't know why this is here, but I don't need this. Stored account, I don't know if I need this. Selected chain ID network settings, I don't know if I need this because like I said, we are working with Alchemy stuff directly. So okay, so I think all the types we have now are valid. So let's go to the utils. We have our client, which is valid environment, which you don't really need anymore because to get the default network type, we already have that. This is just a way to control it by setting it to, okay, we use the env file to set it here. We don't need any of this. Yeah, this is another thing we don't need. The helper functions that gets us the network status. Network status in this case is, yeah, I don't need this. So this is leaving here, it's going off automatically. So I can successfully just close or delete anything that is inside of this network status function because it's literally not needed. Yeah, literally not needed. It's negligible. It can be deleted completely. So I think the only thing I need is this block explorer, which I don't even need because it's if I'm using Alchemy, I'm using the explorer directly that's going to return for me. So yeah, so we can delete this helpers.ts. It doesn't contain anything we need. So I can literally just delete everything except for this. So I'm going to delete everything. I don't want to give unclean data. Let me use that word to the AI. I don't want it to start struggling with looking for stuff that doesn't. Want it to see if you already and didn't do anything. There's no point to remove this. I'm not doing anything here. I already committed the files myself. Just keep hanging these days unnecessarily for no reason. So the block here, get block explorer is okay. No, what I'm going to leave this. I believe it might be helpful, even if it won't be for now. So the index, we need all of this. These are like very good stores we need. Then the signer is basically for when you want to perform a signing transaction, which is cool. We know that, so we are not dealing with that. So the next thing is let's look at this now. What else do we need? Secure storage. I'm going to tell you to do two things. I say there's no persistence here, so that means anything we do currently doesn't get persisted, even though it does it immediately. The moment we close the app and we connect the app, everything is gone, and I don't want that to happen. So that is the things I will change. Another thing I'm going to change here is going to be creating a constant, right? I think that should be created in config, but maybe in config. Down to our names here, or the secure key, the seed phrase key for this. Now, this is not going to be the final name because publicly, if I'm going to be going to maybe it's to actual to the stores, to any of the store, Apple Store, Play Store, this is not going to be what this will be. Like you can see in production, implement proper encryption before storage, obviously. So this is just going to be for now for test. So private key, this is just going to be the key for what we are creating for now. But for production is going to change, like extremely change. And okay, so that's that. I think that's all we need for this to work. So I'm going to tell the AI to make changes now based on what we've done and modified. So I'm going to say, I'm still skeptical about all of this, but network type is not going to be needed. Definitely not. I'm sure of that 100%. So we need to make changes to the store because the store is important for us right now. We need to make that change. So anything that has to do with custom type, custom networks is leaving, network type leaves, theme, balance, all of the other ones stays. Update network used, everything that has to do with custom network leaves completely. So I remove all of those ones. I go back to custom network goes, network type goes because I don't even need this, but this leaves also because I don't need it. Network type. Okay, so I think we have everything we need now. So I'm going to ask this the same thing again. In this case, it's going to be, funny enough, I've changed my mind. I don't want anything that's to do with network. Network action, network statuses, all of these things gone. Okay, I can leave this. I can leave the networks, right? Because the status and all of those things too are important. In case I want to send transactions, and I'm sure that it's not going to go. I can that check. Okay, you know what? I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this. So I'm going to say, going to copy the same thing, give it to it again as a new task, and I'm going to tell it to how do you intend to approach this. So knowing fully well that I've made changes. Sorry, guys, just give me a minute to restart this. I don't like what is happening right now. So I'll tell it to restart. I'm going to restart it so that the AI, the entire thing can restart and refresh. Then I'm going to reopen this before we call it a day. I want us to wrap up this before we finish this today so that tomorrow we have a very good point, starting point. Come on, close. How long will it take you to also close? Oh my god. When this starts misbehaving this bad. Stop them. I don't want it running. So annoying. All right, let's go back to this. So I'll reopen that. And okay, so let's do this. PXS post out. So everything works well. We should be able to reload this again without any issues. And once we try that, everything should be fine. Starts up, we see our values, we see the data, boom, and everything is still back to how it is. Yes, we can see no issues. Okay, initialize that. Perfectly done. So now let's there was something you suggested yesterday, which I'm going to implement first, right? Before going to the other stuffs, which is today. So you suggested yesterday that Alchemy already provides something for fetching the balance, which is more is clean already because they've done all the optimizations and fixes for us. We don't want to implement the wheel. So he suggested that to me. He said, let me use that. So he said, yeah, this is it. So he said enhancement plan, enhancing the current balance system to leverage Alchemy MCP for this, for this, and for this. So I'm going to say, oh, I like this plan. It will, it's since it is already provided by Alchemy, we can leverage Alchemy's powerful features. So I want you to proceed with this plan. So I'm just going to tell you to proceed, right? Because it's better to use the functions that we already have. Like I said, the functions are already tuned for multi-chain experiences too. So we don't need to start changing between different networks. It's just going to give us what we want. I was already thinking how we're going to do that, but now, like I said, Alchemy provides literally everything we need to build this. So what we are doing is just to give it an experience that makes it better for the user, picking all the pieces and then building it to become a product. Okay, so I like this. It's going to create a new hook called use balance, and just a few more minutes. We're going to run this very soon. It's going to create that portfolio called creates the hook called use portfolio balance. Okay, technical approach we use maintain backward compatibility with the existing ones, adding the new one. The existing balance version refresh makes it work seamlessly with the new implementation, which makes sense. Let's do that. So I'll just tell you to proceed with this since I like this because like I said, this works multi-chain. So for whatever portfolio, whatever chain we are adding or removing across multiple chains, across your tokens, whether custom tokens or actual blockchain tokens, is going to work perfectly well. So this is another approach we want to use. And also we can see that this works. You know that this does not work. You can see this reduces and increases if you've been noticing this. Sometimes it goes to 0.68, sometimes 0.66. It has been working. So it has not been constant. So that means it's working perfectly. Implementation works currently, not that it doesn't work. Right. We are just trying to add more stuff to it. So we allow it to create this use portfolio balance implementation because now it's using Alchemy FPC to create our functions that we need. And the Alchemy FPC exactly, which is why I'm trying not to implement this. You can see that it creates the interface here for the response. So that's why I'm skeptical that my store does not need certain things that we have created. So I might even discard the entire store except for things like the themes and the settings, which I want, which I know works, and I'm going to copy. But everything that's to do with wallet, account, networks, I'm going to even remove them completely now because now this has given me the idea that we do not need that. Every other thing we need in terms of type safety for type safety is going to come from the SDK itself. It's better it comes from the SDK so that we know that whatever we are using is already type saved. We can leverage it. We don't need to create our own interface that we need to start merging, combining, omitting, using partials. I don't want to use that. Let's know we are using the same type across the entire application. It makes it easy to scale. It makes it easy to like make changes, add more features, do whatever we are doing. And it makes it easy for me to track what we've done so far. Because I have a way to track everything we are working on. I have like a okay, I have like a board, but it's not complete. But yes, I have that created for this project that works. So I can use it to track what is happening. And so if it's using the same response from Alchemy's responses, that means it works perfectly well for our use case, right? It works perfectly well. So what's this? Is it creating tests? Please don't create tests. I don't want to create in tests. Use enhanced balance refresh. Okay, let's see. So use balance refresh. How do you use client? All these are real stuff and not simulated things. Refreshes only its prices. Let's see what this is. Why does this just become full of bugs recently? This ID is just messy these days. All right. So you guys see what is happening here right now. It's creating the token already. Like token we already intended to like move to another time entirely. But it's already creating the token and it is done creating it. So literally this is what we have. You can see the portfolio display. It's creating show tokens, show the stats, compact. I know I'm not going to use this as it is because I don't think it's going to create a very good design. But if it does, we can still tweak it to make it look like what we want to use. But so far, so good. I think this might make sense. I'm not entirely sure. I've not gone through the code, but it looks fine for now, especially the hook it created based on the way so based on the suggestions it gave before starting it, it feels like it's going to make a lot more sense. So let's just allow it to complete all of these things. Then I go back to the store, clean the store, then tell it to create everything since it knows what to do. Okay, so the portfolio display is what we have here. Oh no. Oh my god, no, 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 no. Okay, so as you guys can see, just scattered and everything we were working on for how long? Just because we wanted to create something else. But that's fine. That's fine. Just a matter of reverting everything that has to do with this component that was changed. Every other thing should still work, I believe. And I don't want the portfolio display, like I said, I don't want it because now it's giving me a portfolio display that doesn't even suit what I want to create. I don't want all of that. I don't want the statistics. I don't want any of those things. And I think it's already creating tests. It's already misbehaving to things I don't want it to do. But I didn't specify it not to create tests, so it's understandable if you create tests, no problem. But the portfolio display, I do not want. The token lists, there are no token lists. Of course, this may come in handy later on, but I'm not going to use it now. What I want to see here is so what I want to see in this case is the portfolio summary, which is what I want to pick. So I already understand the created portfolio summary here, and the portfolio summary is just where is this coming from? Okay, it's this file which we have here. So the portfolio summary is this file here, which we have, and it just add with the total value. Where did he get all of these values from? Because I don't know. This doesn't look like my address value. The address I had before didn't have any of these things. My id balance is extremely different. So portfolio summary, id balance is pass float, id balance. Where are you getting balance from? Portfolio native balance. Portfolio coming from here, coming from portfolio summary. Portfolio is coming from data, use portfolio balance for my address. Is this correct? So using it for my address, fetch token owned by multi-chain address. So on what address do I have? 1.5 ETH, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I need to know which address I have 1.5 ETH. All right, I think this is just misbehavior right now because I'm sure this is a new account I created. Well, it's my account, so it's not as if I just created it. I just signed in with the account because it's my email, right? So that means I already have stuffs. It's an account I already have defined already that I can reuse multiple times. So what I want to check is if it created everything the way we expect it to be created. But while I'm checking this, oh no, what is it with you? This ID, what is it? What are you? Oh, come on. Okay, so it's done with all of this. It gave me a lot of unnecessary things that I don't need. Yes, but it's not that bad. What we're going to do first of all is go back to the main page and fix whatever I did here. That's at this point. So definitely not using the button portfolio display. I can, but I'm not using it. We prefer to use what I have currently because the refresh balances work and it's still giving me the same thing. Even though I'm using this, it's still giving me 5,000 as my total portfolio value and 1.5 ETH, which I don't know where it's getting that from. But then let's refresh the balance. We have this, which is fair. It's fine. And let's revert this now. So I'm going to copy the enhanced portfolio display. I'm going to revert this because I don't want it here. Yeah. So this is what I okay. So you should give me what I want, what I had before, not removing it and adding his own thing, just like that. I understand he's trying to help, but not like that. All right. So the portfolio bar display can still be there, right? Let's see the compact display. So it's showing me one token, one network. Which network did you see this? All right, so we need to check this before we wrap up. Now this is fine. Two more things I want to do. One, I'm going to go back to the store. I want to remove the entire thing not needed. Anything that doesn't have to do with settings for configuration and for settings that I know that I need is going to most probably leave. So things like the theme is going to stay, wallet locked for instances and stuff is going to stay, gas sponsorship is going to stay, balance trigger refresh balance update is most likely going to remain. Then the select network is going to leave, status is going to leave, network status is going to leave. Anything that's to do with network is going to go because Alchemy has its own, so I want to use the one it has. So anything that doesn't have to do with these four things leaves automatically, which is where I'm working with it. So okay, yeah. So I'm removing all of this. Account list, account setup. There's no account anymore here, so that leaves also. So selected anything that has to do with network and account has to go. Anything that has to do with custom networks, definitely leaving. Anything that has to do with networks, accounts, active has to leave. So now this is lean, extremely lean, and this is good. Very, very good. And the reason is simple because I know what we need from here. So going back to the storage sink, let's clear what we do not need here. So literally going to load network type. We don't need to load it from. So load network type is like storing the network type to the phone storage. But then we don't want to do all of those things. Why? Because even though I know that we don't need to like fetch all the time, we can implement all of these stores later on. So we don't want that. So I'm going to remove all of this. So load from storage is going to work, but it's just going to be load what we need per time. So the network basically are not being loaded from storage. They are being loaded from somewhere that they already exist. So it's not as if I'm having custom storage. So that means I don't need this. So this is going out. Selected network does not need to be stored. So that means it needs to leave. So everything that has to do with this needs to leave. So loading account also, we do not need to load accounts because we don't need that. So it also needs to leave. So the next thing we need to do is we leave the theme, leave the wallet lock state, gas sponsorship preferences. That's perfect. So fall back to default. We don't need all of this. So we remove this. So the store subscriptions, that's for subscribing to changes that happen. Just like I showed you guys the other time, that everything across the page is reactive. It works well for every other use cases. So subscribe to network changes. What it does here is it picks the mobile network that we're about to use and it just uses that. So setting up store subscription means set up. So we use this, but we don't need to set up for network changes because we already have a hook that implements that. And wherever we use it, since the hook is used across board, but we can implement a store when we need it. But for now, don't let us make it too ambiguous. So we remove this. Totally theme changes is going to remain, yes, because it affects the entire page and I want to also store it. So subscribe to wallet lock, definitely. You don't want to perform some certain things if your wallet is locked. So subscription for that works perfectly well. So UI add count data for this as account. I don't think I need that. So we need all of those things. Yeah, I think that's all. This makes sense. So now we have a very lean, very lean. What do I have here that should not be here? Light is not assignable to system. Yeah, because come on, just leave. All right, so that is fine. So we've already resolved that issue, so that shouldn't be a problem. So we resolved that already. So storage sync is resolved. UI store is resolved. Let's see what other errors. Like I said, I don't like seeing red. So I really don't like seeing red. Now I want to check through this hook that was created for me. I don't trust what is here because I'm seeing stuff that I don't understand why it should be there. Right, that's the first thing. So we have the portfolio balance keys, all my portfolio. This is coming from the MCP. So it's using the MCP. Like I said, it's using the Alchemy MCP. So I don't need to also think of how it works. It knows to look for it, find out it works, and use it automatically. And you can see it's using the same thing. That makes sense. It's using balance version, which was created from the store. Obviously, balance version is not doesn't even exist. So you should know that that is wrong. But then he has already used it, so we need to tell it to revert using that. So it's not being used across. In fact, it's not being used anywhere. So there's no point having this in the code base. So we used use query to fetch the data from the Alchemy MCP. So we did that to fetch by using this function. This function comes from Alchemy MCP, which is just a exactly. I knew this was wrong. So for now, return more data. This will replace with actual MCP calls. So what I need to do is tell it to fix this by telling it to implement this. So I'll say, okay, nicely done, but let's replace this with actual MCP calls. Can we do this? And this is one of the problems with AI. You suggested something for me, then you created mock data everywhere. How do you expect me to use the mock data when you're supposed to use the actual calls? Right? It's just because they are fast. They make things faster for you. Once you know what you are doing, you can actually tell you, no, I don't want this, do it this way instead. And it should work. So then you can, or most times, not too sure with whatever. Why are you using this? I'm not supposed to be calling the stuff. Don't. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just revert everything that's done so far. Everything that's to do with this is going to be reverted. I don't want that. You suggested you can use it, and then now you're telling me you can't use it. Why did you suggest in the first place? There's this function called fetch own tokens by multi-chain address, which is literally here. I don't know why it's giving me all of this nonsense result. Fetch tokens. So tokens by wallet, token by prices, token by address. These are functions that can be called, but for some reason, AI is going to do nonsense. All right, so what I'm going to do is just simple. Everything that it has done so far for the enhanced balances, everything that I didn't do myself is going to leave. So docs, this MCP, enhanced balance system, everything that you created leaves. I don't want any of this. Yes. Let me be sure I'm not deleting what I need. Portfolio balance, portfolio display, enhanced balance test, this. Okay, yeah, let's let that go out. All right, so we are back to, oh no. Okay, so let's reopen this and see what we have. Portfolio display. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to revert all of them, roll back all the changes. No, it can't roll back all the changes. That's the problem. You know what? Okay, let's do it this way. Let's go to main, myself, remove all the changes, roll back all the changes that was done to main. Roll it back, roll it back, roll it back, roll it back. All the changes made, roll it back. I don't want it. Just leave it as I left it. Roll it back. Okay, so successfully done the clearing of what we want to. That's for the stores that we don't want to have opened. So one more thing we can do is, since we've done this and we know that it works, that means it works for our use case. What we can do now is we want to proceed with okay, time is gone. I'm not going to do this today. So what we're going to do is we're going to call it a day here, basically. And we're going to continue with part 6 series, same time tomorrow. But that's going to be, at least now we know that we have the home page working with actual data and it works. Everything on the home page works at least 70 to 80%, right? And then we just implement to the account so that we can select the accounts to use for within our wallet. So then we've done the home page and the accounts page. What we can do next is to implement the send page, which we currently don't have because it has a lot of issues, but we can implement. So we need to do that also. And then once we're done with the same page, the other pages are simple. The history page is just basic. It's just the way of, it's just the call to Alchemy's RPC. So we can just make that call and fetch by the current chain we are working with and by the current network. So we don't need to store any crazy thing for now. In fact, I'm not going to use anything else to do with the store for now to simplify the workflow because we have everything we need. We just need to persist them when it is time. So when we get to settings is when we require to use the store as much as possible. So once we do this, once we can complete send, I couldn't do that today because I wanted to, but then we had to make a lot of fixes. But once we can complete the store, we are done with the other things. The other things are basic. Just click and view and just some UI stuff. UI takes a lot more time. You see how many hours it took us to implement the UI today to make it look as rich as our intended user experience and user interface. So this is what we want it to look like, and this is what the send will look like. So in part 6 of the series, we are going to implement this UI, right? It's going to look more like this, and that's what we are going to implement in part 6 of the series. So stay tuned for that part. And if you have not subscribed, consider doing that so that you don't miss the updates. You don't miss when we go live, whether for now or for future updates as well. And also do well to like this video because it's going to be helpful. It's going to help to like encourage and motivate me to also do more stuff for you guys. So and for myself as well. So yes, that is it for today's part 5 of this build a mobile app series. So this is where I'm going to stop this. This is where I'm going to end this today. And tomorrow also we're going to come back again and fix all our pending unfixed issue today. So that's basically what's going to happen. So thanks so much for watching, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.